The year is 228 AD, and the world is a proper dumpster fire. We're not talking about a slow burn. It was a full-scale, system-level crash, all thanks to a revolutionary online game called Star Brilliance that decided to bleed its digital insanity into reality 5 years back. The players who pre-registered woke up stacked with god-tier powers and societal order. Yeah, that basically went kaput. We find our boy Chen deep in the thick of it, looking ragged and breathing like a man who just lost a fight with a treadmill. He was playing pack mule for a crew of absolute tools. One of them barked at him to move faster. "Are we there yet? Hurry up," while another chimed in, asking why he was moving like a snail. These weren't his homies, they were his captors. Chen was their slave, pure and simple, living a life that was less Dungeons and Dragons and more Squid Game. His internal monologue was running on pure, bitter fumes. In just 5 short years, the world went to shit. And me? I'm Chen, the one dumbass who actually cleared the beta version of Star Brilliance. I was naive, a total noob. I showed my hand too early, and everyone around me got bodied because of it. My knowledge. My curse, he thought. The ultimate suffering from success meme in human form. Just then, one of his so-called teammates got up in his face, threatening to break his legs if they didn't find the hidden boss he'd mentioned before nightfall. Chen just stewed. I lost my freedom because I had beta knowledge. These major powers enslaved me, turned me into their personal bloodhound, a tool for hunting rare game and scoring loot. A tool. I'm a joke, and I know it, he mused. A bitter echo of the I'm a joke and I'm proud mantra. But bro was playing the long game. He put on a mask of compliance, the smile of a man who was about to drop a massive truth bomb, and told the team they were about 2 kilometers away and that he would lead the way. The party got hyped, practically drooling over the prospect of a hidden boss and the divine artifacts it would drop. They whispered amongst themselves, reinforcing that he was the real deal, the sole survivor of the beta. They pushed deeper into the forest, and Chen just stopped. One of the guild members spun around, pissed, and demanded to know who told him to stop. Chen looked him dead in the eye, a devilish grin spreading across his face. He told them all the hidden boss was right here, but that it depended on whether they could stay alive to claim it. Surprise, motherfucker. The guild member's face went pale. Before anyone could process it, Chen flexed. He didn't summon a boss. Oh no, that was for amateurs. He summoned a triple S-rank dungeon, the Wenli St. Palace materializing right in front of them like a glitch in the Matrix. The guild member who was talking smack now looked like he'd seen a ghost, screaming that it was a hidden dungeon and yelling for everyone to run. Chen's laugh was cold enough to freeze hell over. He told them running was pointless. Anyone below level 70 was doomed the moment they entered the dungeon's radius. He delivered the final blow, stating they would all accompany him to hell, as this was where he eternally rested. "I'm not trapped in here with you," he sneered, borrowing the line from Rorschach. "You're trapped in here with me." And just like that, the trap snapped shut. A goddess-level figure materialized, and the reality was she was blasting out so much raw power it killed any stupid thought on sight. She scanned the panicking guild members with utter disdain and shouted a single contemptuous word. "Mortals!" She didn't wait for an answer. Her hands flew up, a massive magical formation igniting at her feet. The sky darkened, and then it began to rain, a downpour of countless razor-sharp ethereal swords. As the guild members were utterly shredded, Chen finally felt a wave of relief wash over him. Finally, it is all over, but the universe, it seemed, had other plans. After a moment of nothingness, a voice cut through the void, calling his name. He thought the owner of that voice was long gone. The person grew more insistent, asking if he'd forgotten his promise to go out with her today. He blinked awake in an actual bed, not a dungeon, only to find his big sister leaning over him. So yeah, everyone can relax and keep the stepsister fantasies on pause. Not today, anime tropes. She saw his confused stare and pouted, threatening to take action if he didn't get up. He was stunned. She was sitting on his lap now, looking smug and commenting on his laziness. He was fully glitching. Am I dreaming? He pinched his own arm. Then, like an idiot, he reached out and pinched his sister's cheek. She gave him an angry look that could curdle milk and told him he should know his limits. With that, she unleashed a kick straight to his face, sending him flying off the bed with a cartoonish flare. He crashed into a ball on the floor, a trickle of blood coming from his nose. KO. As he lay there, slightly concussed, his eyes landed on a calendar. The date read, April 10th, 2/1/23, a week before the official open beta of Star Brilliance. His sister was suddenly looking concerned, her previous fury gone. She asked if he was okay, noting he'd zoned out and checked his forehead for a fever. Chen, his mind racing a million miles an hour, looked at her and asked if she knew about Star Brilliance. She rolled her eyes, the picture of normalcy, and said it would be hard not to know, since he'd been blabbing about it every day, something about a revolutionary game with 100% immersion. Chen's gaze drifted to his laptop on the desk. He picked it up, the weight of it feeling heavy with destiny. 100% immersion, huh? He thought, a cynical smirk forming on his lips. That might be the only big truth the game officials ever told, considering the game never really existed in the first place. A little while later, Chen was parked in front of his laptop, the screen glowing like a portal to a second chance. His big sister, a human-sized tank of curiosity and judgment, loomed over his shoulder. He pointed at the screen. I chose Berserker for you. Is that cool? His sister just shrugged, the picture of pure, unfiltered nonchalance. "Sure, whatever you say," she mumbled. "Thanks." But then a sly grin crept onto her face, the kind that promised trouble. "Wait, are you low-key trying to set me up as a brain-dead meat shield? Pulling a classic, do your job." Chen's face flushed a brilliant, catastrophic red. He stammered out a denial, backpedaling faster than a glitched-out NPC phasing through a wall. "What? No, I'm considering spellcaster for myself. With you as a berserker drawing all the enemy aggro, we'd be a perfect duo. A walking tank DPS combo." The moment hung thick, a silent, awkward subpoena of truth. Let's be real. The guy was more terrified of his big sister than a level 1 mob facing a level 99 player. She studied him for a long, unnerving second that felt like a full loading screen. Finally relenting, she said, "I'll trust you, I guess." As she turned to leave, she threw a final warning over her shoulder. "Don't play for too long. Young people should get out more." Chen, feeling a tiny spark of bravado now that she was in retreat, muttered under his breath, "What does she mean, young people? She's not exactly ancient herself. I am inevitable." She stopped dead at the door. The air pressure dropped. The temperature of the room plummeted. The fury of 1,000 suns, a cosmic event in human form, took over as she turned back with the slow, deliberate menace of a final boss spawning. She asked, in a voice deceptively calm, like the eye of a hurricane, "Did you say something, Chen?" Chen's survival instincts kicked into ultra instinct overdrive. He squeaked out, "I said take care and catch you later." He offered a weak, terrified thumbs up, trying to channel the energy of a cheerful but doomed side character. It was too late. The aggro was pulled. "Chen, Chen." His sister's voice was a sweet, deadly sing-song. What followed was a beatdown so thorough, so absolute, it would have made the hidden boss from his previous life blush. She absolutely beat the shit out of him. A full combo that left him concussed and appreciative of his low health pool. But later, when she'd finally left him as a bruised heap on the chair, his mind was already racing, the pain a distant annoyance. In Star Brilliance, there are 6 basic professions, he thought, mentally scrolling through the wiki in his head like it was a Reddit thread. Berserker, Druid, Elemental Mage, Psychic, Assassin. Although Berserker was the only class without long-range capabilities, its burst damage far exceeded any other. A grim smile touched his lips. "More importantly, it suits my sisters. I don't need a weapon. I am the weapon personality perfectly." And then the memory hit him, a full sensory flashback, raw and brutal. He was in a lavish room surrounded by stone-faced bodyguards. A voice snarled, "Get the hell away from me." The scene was a nightmare. His sister burst into the room, a whirlwind of fury and desperation. "How dare you harm him?" she roared. "I swear I will wipe out every last one of you and your families. This is my red wedding." A group of bodyguards surrounded her, weapons raised, telling her she was already surrounded. Chen struggled against his restraints, shouting for her. He saw his magnificent, reckless sister, captivated by a dozen men, a gun pressed to her head. Then, a man arrived, strolling in like he owned the place, radiating main antagonist energy. "Not bad at all. A mere level 25, and you have the audacity to break into the Bai family estate," he smirked. "Having information from the beta test really makes you bold. It's not in vain that we went through so much trouble to get our hands on this kid." He walked right up to Chen's sister. She stood her ground, her voice like steel, telling him to release her brother and name his terms. The man texted, pretending to be reasonable. The problem, he explained, was that Chen wasn't just tied to the Bai family. Other major families were involved. Handing him over would get them all ripped apart. "It's complicated," he sighed, doing his best impression of a tired corporate lawyer. Chen's sister didn't even flinch. "So there is nothing to negotiate," she said, accepting the hard truth like a final dialogue option. Then she moved. She used her power, a berserker's lunge, screaming that she would start with him first, and then take her brother away. The Bai family young master just stood there, smiling with the confidence of a man who knows the boss fight hasn't started yet. He didn't even bother to lift a finger. He simply called out, "Good luck with that," with the same casual malice as a Palpatine or Moriarty. A bodyguard, a mountain of a man, stepped forward. He gathered power in his fist, a swirling vortex of energy that warped the air. He didn't dodge her charge. He met it head-on. The punch connected with a sickening crunch. Chen's sister was thrown across the room like a rag doll, coughing out blood as a massive explosion of power tore through the space. "Sis," Chen screamed, his voice raw with a pain worse than any physical blow. His sister, broken and bleeding, looked at him. Her eyes, once so full of fire, were dimming. She managed a weak, bloody smile. "Chen, live on. Catch you later. Until my next respawn." Back in the present, in the safety of his room, Chen's fists were clenched so tight his nails dug half-moons into his palms. The Bai family. One of the 4 great families back then. My sister died horribly right in front of me, trying to save me. A cold, hard resolve settled in his soul. "In this left time, how should I pay you back?" "Oh, I'm going to pay you all back. With interest." He turned back to his computer, his movements sharp and decisive. He selected Spellcaster. The description popped up, also known as Cultivator, a class that could use celestial spells and techniques, and even work with close-range weapons for a balance of offense and defense. A warning note flashed in red about their frail bones, advising against frontline duty. Glass cannon. the game seemed to whisper. Chen's mind was a well-oiled machine of future knowledge. He knew the level cap was high and that he could change his specialization every 30 levels, but the initial class was permanent. He scanned the advanced options: Mage Cultivator, Body Cultivator, Demon Cultivator, Buddha Cultivator. He clicked confirm without a second of hesitation. In my previous life, I chose Mage Cultivator for its flashier, more elegant skills. By the time I had regrets, it was too late. Not this time. This time, I'm building a foundation of steel. The grind begins. He rolled his shoulders, a new purpose burning in his eyes. It was time to take on that so-called 7-day sign-in quest, the ultimate starter pack. He was about to head out when his sister intercepted him at the front door, asking where he was going. He replied that he needed to take care of some business. She studied him for a moment, then sighed and handed him her wallet card. "We're running low on supplies. Do some shopping." She paused, a small knowing smile on her face. "You're allowed to buy some snacks as compensation." He took the card, a lump forming in his throat, and agreed. She was always looking out for him, a true MVP, even when she had no idea how high the stakes really were. Once outside, he pulled out his phone and pulled up the task details for the secret beta quest: to collect materials and craft the bodyweight flying elixir, which would boost his physique from D class to A grade. He looked at the list of rare herbs and minerals, then back at the wallet card in his hand. "I had doubts that my limited finances would cover the materials for this task, not to mention initial supplies for the apocalypse. But my sister, as usual, is way ahead of me. She's the real-life hack." And just then, back at home, his sister suddenly sneezed. "Achoo!" She blinked, rubbing her nose. After all, everyone knows if someone remembers you, you sneeze. And Chen was remembering everything. So picture this. Back at Chen's crib, the scene looked like a bomb had gone off. And honestly, one kinda had. Boom! Every window in the place was absolutely deleted, glass flying everywhere like confetti at the world's most violent party. The air was thick with smoke and the smell of scorched herbs, and right in the middle of the carnage was our boy Chen, coughing his lungs out like a chain-smoking asthmatic. Through the haze, he stared at the sooty, slightly melted lumps in his makeshift crucible. This was his grand attempt at the foundation-nourishing elixir. He poked one of the pellets, noting it felt different from the ones in the beta. This thing looked less like a mystical cultivation aid and more like something you'd find at the bottom of a birdcage. But bro was committed. He gave himself a little pep talk. The ingredients are fine. The process is a process. What's the worst that could happen? Famous last words. He tossed one of the dubious pellets into his mouth, and instantly, he knew he had made a catastrophic error. His face did a full system reboot, contorting in ways that defied human anatomy. The flavor was so profoundly wrong, it was the culinary equivalent of watching a full 4-hour YouTube ad. He gagged, trying to scrape the phantom taste off his tongue, convinced he'd now unlocked the ability to taste colors, and those colors were painful. But then, a shimmering system interface materialized through the smoke. Ding! Congratulations to beta tester Chen for successfully refining the B-grade elixir foundation nourishing pill. Reward: 1,000 experience points. Reward: random equipment chest. Chen's eyes went wide, but the system wasn't done. Congratulations! You have unlocked the Spellcaster exclusive open beta 7-day sign-in quest. Upon full completion, you will receive the mysterious newbie gift pack during the open beta phase. Failure will result in your beta test status and all associated privileges being revoked. Chen's mind raced. An exclusive quest. He didn't recall this from the original beta. It was like a patch note the devs forgot to mention, a hidden DLC nobody asked for but everyone needs. The system blipped again, explaining the quest was for beta testers and unlocked after a prerequisite task. Beta tester Chen must adhere to the spellcaster's code and try to obtain the 6 essential items for cultivation: wealth, partner, method, land, body, spirit. Chen scanned the list, a prerequisite task that explained the pill. He understood wealth, method, body, and spirit well enough, but partner and land were confusing. The system, ever the cryptic guru, provided a poetic answer about the long road to immortality requiring a partner and a humble abode. Chen stared blankly before it clicked. He facepalmed so hard it echoed. The system wanted him to get a Tao companion and buy a blessed land. To put it bluntly, it meant he had to get married and buy a house. In this economy, the system, Chen muttered, is really out here asking me to complete the hardest quest in all of existence. The system was wilding. Before he could process this real estate nightmare, an angry red alert flashed. Warning: subpar pill consumed. Current physique: D class, enduring. Mandatory objective: increase physique to A grade. Training beyond one's limits can rapidly improve physical attributes. Chen let out a long, weary sigh. The universe wasn't asking, it was telling. He had no choice. To stay ahead, he had to push himself. He knew the drill. It was time for the montage. Cut to the next day. The sun was beating down like it had a personal grudge, and there was Chen, looking like a glitched-out character from a fitness MMO. He was running, but this was a war crime on legs. He had 25 kilograms weight strapped to each ankle, more on his arms, and was dragging 4 massive truck tires, a total of 500 kilograms of pure pain. Sweat poured off him in rivers, the only music the heavy metal clang of his resolve. Just then, his phone buzzed. He fumbled for it, his vision blurry, and saw a live location share from Bai. His blood ran cold, the exhaustion vanishing in a heartbeat. A memory slammed into him. In his past life, Bai was kidnapped around this time by rival factions within her own family. The rage was a cold, sharp thing in his gut. Not again, he whispered, a clear, sharp resolve settling over him. He owed Bai too much. This time, he wouldn't let anyone harm her. He didn't hesitate. He opened his inventory and pulled out his reward, a stealth cloak that hid his presence out of combat. A grim, predatory smile touched his lips. Say hello to my little friend, he thought, though the friend was just himself and the cloak. He swirled the cloak around his shoulders and vanished from sight. He moved as a ghost, following the ping to a dilapidated warehouse. Inside, two kidnappers were arguing while Bai sat, poised but terrified. One thug groaned about the unlucky mission of hiding her for a week. The other scoffed, reminding him he was excited about the pay. Bai, ever the ice queen, cut in and guessed the client was Bai Tianyu. The thug scowled, telling her to shut her mouth and not ask questions. A lecherous glint entered his eyes. He remembered their client never said anything about not touching her. He started moving towards her, threatening that she should cooperate and understand the situation. His hand reached out. Bai flinched back, and that's when a fist materialized from thin air. It connected with the thug's stomach with a sound like a sack of wet cement hitting the pavement. The man's eyes bulged. He was launched backward, coughing blood before he hit the ground, immediately unconscious. He looked like a rag doll who'd just been uninstalled from the server. The other kidnapper stared, his brain buffering. "Who's there?" he shouted, his voice a shaky echo of fear. The air shimmered. Chen lowered his hood, the stealth cloak deactivating. He stood between Bai and her captor, his expression colder than the heart of a final boss. "Me," Chen said, his voice flat and deadly. "Just a passing-by cultivator. And I am inevitable." Chen told Bai to wait a moment, promising to deal with the last guy and get her out of there. The remaining gang members shouted, accusing him of playing mysterious before snatching a knife and charging, declaring that since Chen was here, he might as well stay. Chen simply watched him come. Then, with a burst of terrifying energy, he moved. It was over in an instant, a sickening crack, a blur of motion, and Chen was behind the man, having broken his arm. Somehow, the thug managed to stay standing, panting as he admitted Chen had some skill. Chen just shrugged. "Hasta la vista, baby." He then called out, summoning the other men who had been hiding in the shadows, and ordered everyone to attack without mercy. All the gangsters charged at once. Bai watched, her heart tight with worry. But Chen just calmly swallowed 3 of his crude homemade pills. A visible wave of energy buffeted out from him. A system notification informed him he had leveled up to C rank, and an immense roaring power flooded his veins. Immediately, another system warning flashed, detecting a dangerous accumulation of spiritual power. To prevent him from bursting, it urgently recommended releasing the energy. Note: the system suggested release the energy, not unleash the beast. This is the correct procedure. He punched, kicked, and flung gangsters into the air like ragdolls. The entire fight was over in a fraction of a second. The system congratulated him on leveling up to B rank. Bai was certain she'd just witnessed the training montage finale from 4 different movies at once. The main gangster boss, who had been watching from the sidelines, finally spoke. He mused that he had thought the mission would be dull, but this was a pleasing surprise. He grinned, eager to see how much fun Chen could bring him. "Ah, a worthy opponent. Our battle will be legendary." In the next instant, his grin vanished, replaced by pure shock. Chen closed the distance between them in the blink of an eye, his fist already poised in front of the boss's face. The man could only stammer a desperate "what?" but impossible before Chen's fist connected. The boss was punched back with tremendous force, crashing through the wall and embedding himself in the rubble on the other side. Chen looked at the collapsed form and coldly stated that he didn't have the time or energy to waste. He would have to ask him to leave early. Note: an audible KO sound effect echoes. The system congratulated him once more. Level A rank. The reward was 10,000 experience points and a random piece of equipment. His mission progress was now significantly higher. Chen then turned to Bai, who rushed forward and hugged him tightly. She murmured that the feeling confirmed it was indeed her classmate, though she had started to doubt it with the way he had acted. Chen asked if it wasn't her who sent the location, explaining he'd been nearby doing morning exercises and had rushed over. Bai questioned the notion of morning exercises so late at night, but Chen quickly cut the crap. He looked at her seriously and stated that if he was not mistaken, she probably wanted to rush back and use this incident to confront Bai Tianyu. She confirmed it, explaining that since her grandfather passed, Bai Tianyu's faction had become increasingly unruly, and she had planned to use this to put them in their place. Chen placed a hand on her shoulder. He told her that wasn't the main point. What he was about to say might sound unbelievable, but she needed to remember it. In 7 days, the world would descend into chaos. Countless people would die, and the global landscape would be rewritten. This is not a drill. I repeat, this is not a drill. He urged her for the next week to do as little as possible, keep a low profile, and she would understand everything after that. Bai placed a hand on his forehead, asking if he was running a fever and why he was talking nonsense so late. He held her hand and told her to listen carefully. After they left, she needed to immediately register an account for Star Brilliance. For everything else, she was to do nothing. He would explain it all tomorrow at school. He then led her away, stating this wasn't the place to linger. She asked what about the people, questioning if they were just going to let them go. Chen reassured her not to worry. He had called the police before coming. I'm Batman, but I pay taxes. Baiyu looked at Chen, a complex thought crossing her mind. This guy, is he really Chen? He seems so different. Sometime later, Chen was back at home. His sister stood before him, emanating a monstrous aura. He asked her why she was looking at him like that. She pointed a trembling finger at the mountain of supermarket bags. She hissed that she'd said he could buy some snacks, not empty the entire store, and demanded to know if he realized he'd maxed out her credit card. My disappointment is immeasurable, and my day is ruined. Chen replied that he couldn't explain right now and asked her not to ask anything else. He had a reason. She grabbed his collar, her voice dripping with sarcasm. A reason? Really? Was he holding supplies for the end of the world or something? He hesitated, then asked, just to be sure, if he confirmed that it really was because of the end of the world. What would she do? Terrifyingly, she tightened her grip. She stated she would start by giving him a good beating, and then drag him to a psychiatrist. He looked at her and sighed, saying he guessed he had to tell her the truth. The fact was, he'd noticed she hadn't been looking well lately, probably due to overwork, so he had spent a considerable amount to buy a body-enhancing elixir from an old Chinese medicine practitioner. It was for the greater good. Her demeanor shifted instantly. She hummed, a rare show of care from him. She decided to let him off the hook. So, she asked, where was the elixir? Chen presented the lumpy, questionable pill. He told her it was right there and she could just swallow it directly. She held it between her fingers, a deep skepticism on her face. She looked him dead in the eye. I have to ask, little Chen. Are you sure that this isn't an IQ tax? Chen sat in his room, deep in meditation, his mind a whirlwind of calculations. His current physical and spiritual progress was already on par with what he'd achieved during the internal beta, roughly level 10. The raw power was there, a thrumming engine of potential. The problem was the lack of proper techniques to harness it. Without them, all that power was just a number on a screen, a Super Saiyan with no one to fight. He scrolled through his phone notes. According to the system, the heavenly law and earthly body divine art fell under exclusive missions for Zion artisans. The week's tasks would likely revolve around these aspects, but his mind snagged on one infuriating recurring requirement: the partner part. What did it really mean? Did the system expect him to get married on the spot? I am once again asking for your spiritual support, he muttered to the ceiling, channeling his inner Bernie Sanders meme. As if reading his thoughts, his phone buzzed violently. A system announcement materialized over the screen. Congratulations, beta tester Chen, for triggering an exclusive mission. Mission: Dao Companion Bonding. Form a Dao Companion relationship with any player of the opposite sex within 24 hours. Dao Companions require witness from heaven, earth, and the mundane world to become effective. Chen's grip tightened. A spiderweb of cracks spread across the screen before it shattered completely in his hand. He snarled at the empty room, calling the system a fucking bullshit operation run by a voyeuristic drama writer. You merely adopted the dark, he seethed, tossing the fragments into a trash can. The words of Bane from The Dark Knight Rises, echoing his fury at the system's arbitrary rules. Later, at school, Chen stood on the secluded rooftop terrace. The quiet was broken as Baiyu stepped out, a faintly annoyed look on her face. She asked why they couldn't have this discussion in the classroom. Chen glanced back calmly, stating the classroom was too crowded. He turned to face her fully, reminding her of his promise to give her the details today and telling her to listen carefully and hold her questions. She let out a soft, exasperated sigh, asking if he meant the follow-up to his End of the World Volume 1, the Gibberish Strikes Back seminar. Chen felt a flush of embarrassment, but Baiyu simply walked past him and sat on a bench, relenting. She confirmed she'd registered for the game and chose an Ice Elemental Mage, and was following his advice to lay low for now. A sly smile touched her lips as she added that letting her rivals stew for a couple of days wouldn't hurt. I'm playing the long game, she purred, sounding like a Bond villain. Chen quickly turned and questioned her class choice, calling Ice Elemental Mage a bit too typical and suggesting something more unique. But internally, he noted she'd chosen the same class as in their past life. The threads of fate were stubborn. He shifted back to the matter at hand, telling her that after registering, she should have received an open beta mission with a 7-day limit. He advised her to complete as many of the bizarre tasks as possible. He stepped closer, his voice dropping, and told her not to forget. Next Sunday afternoon, no matter what occurred, she needed to stay calm and indoors to be safe from most dangers. Baiyu frowned. She mentioned completing one mission for a reward but couldn't find the backpack. She stood up, her expression turning serious, and explained that next Sunday was impossible. The Bai family had a crucial meeting with the major families and corporations of Jiangcheng. As the current public face of her family, she had to attend. Chen's mind raced. Unexpected circumstances. Of course, this is the part where you fail. A little voice in his head, sounding suspiciously like a villain from an old kung fu movie, mocked him. He told her he got it. Even if he forbade it, she wouldn't listen. If she was insistent on going, he had one condition. He must accompany her, and she couldn't leave his side by more than 1 meter until he was sure it was safe. No disintegrations, he added, thinking of Darth Vader's famous rule. She looked at him, considered it, and finally nodded. That was doable, but she had a condition too. In a swift, unexpected motion, she stepped forward and hugged his arm, declaring that rather than a bodyguard, he would accompany her as her boyfriend. Chen stiffened, asking why. She pouted, reminding him that after she'd confessed and been rejected, he'd promised to confess to her himself. It had been over half a year. Was he planning to make her wait until graduation? Are we there yet? She asked with perfect, childlike impatience. Chen looked away, his ears turning red, and muttered that it wasn't the right time to talk about it. You have no power here, a tiny, desperate voice in his heart cried out. But he knew she did. His eyes were drawn to a commotion down on the school grounds. A large group of students was gathering. He asked what was going on down there. Bai Yu tugged his arm, telling him not to dodge the topic and that he must give her an answer today. He asked her to hold on for a second, looking down at the students forming neat lines on the playground. He asked why so many people were gathered. Bai Yu stared at him in disbelief, asking if he'd been living under a rock. Sir, this is a Wendy's, she practically sighed. The cultural festival was next month, and there was a school-wide assembly this afternoon. Chen's head snapped back towards her, his eyes suddenly glittering with a fierce, unexpected intensity. He asked, his voice low and urgent, if that meant everyone in the school would be gathering that afternoon. She blinked, taken aback, and confirmed that at least the vast majority would be. She demanded to know what he was planning and told him not to change the subject. A slow, calculated smile spread across Chen's face. He started walking towards the door, pulling her gently along. He told her he got it, and that he, Chen, would definitely give her an answer today. It's about drive. It's about power, he mumbled, a focused intensity settling over him that was genuinely unnerving. Bai Yu could only follow, her confusion deepening. What's in the box, Chen? What's in the box, she thought, quoting 7 internally as she was dragged away. What's this guy been doing these past few days? He keeps surprising me like this. The principal's voice droned over the assembled students, a familiar monotonous hum about the upcoming cultural festival and the school's generous rewards, which everyone knew were just stacks of outdated test prep books. It was the annual Be Excited But Not Too Excited speech, and it felt like a 3-hour tour. In the heart of the crowd, Chen's mind was elsewhere, wholly focused on the system's absurd demand. A Tao companion required the heavens and earth as witness, and a secular ceremony. There would be no more perfect stage for this than here. Fine, Chen thought, channeling his inner Keanu Reeves. I know Kung Fu and I know how to get expelled for true love. It is time. Success or failure hinged on this single, public act. Nearby, 2 boys muttered complaints, predicting the speech would drag on for hours and mocking the worthless prizes. Their grumbling ceased as they saw Chen step out of line. One tried to warn him in a hushed shout that offending the principal would mean disciplinary action and wasn't worth it. Chen didn't even glance his way. The boy just shook his head, muttering, a wise man once said, "You only live once." This idiot is about to prove him right. On stage, a student hostess took the microphone, asking everyone to wait for the school leaders. Chen stopped directly in front of the stage. The girl looked down, flustered, and told him it was prohibited and to return to his line. Chen ignored her. With a single, fluid motion, he jumped onto the stage and plucked the microphone from her startled hands. His amplified voice cut through the murmur. He told everyone to focus on him, announcing he was Yi Chen from Class 32, and was there to confess his feelings to Bai Yu from Class 31. A stunned silence fell over the entire field. Bai Yu stood frozen, her face a mask of utter speechlessness, a perfect embodiment of the surprised Pikachu meme. Chen's voice dropped into a tone of profound sincerity that seemed to belong to a much older soul. I have come here to chew bubblegum and confess my feelings, he declared, echoing a classic sci-fi hero. And I'm all out of bubblegum. He told Bai Yu that only in this life would he give all of himself to convey this feeling. That even as time passed and years changed, this love would transcend the constraints of time and space and never change. A wave of shocked whispers and gasps rippled through the students. One boy shouted that it was the highest level of confession, while another countered that the principal's green face meant expulsion was the only possible outcome. The principal himself stormed forward, his face purple with fury. He was, to put it mildly, not pleased. Not at all. He threatened Chen with a major disciplinary mark, a week's suspension, and a permanent record on his file, telling him to bear the consequences of his actions. Chen seemed not to hear. His eyes were locked on Bai Yu as he softly asked her to respond. A shimmering system notification appeared before his eyes. Congratulations to beta player Chen for breaking through a level of mental power. Reward, 100,000 experience points. Reward, 1 random piece of equipment. Current quest progress 2/7. Chen's internal monologue was a mix of triumph and disbelief. Ah, so I can really level up my mental power like this? This is better than grinding in an MMO. Down on the field, Bai Yu finally gathered her courage. A slow smile broke through her shock. She called out that his thoughts had been conveyed, and following fairness and justice, she needed to confess to him again. She looked directly at him, her cheeks flushed, and asked if he would accept her confession. Another brighter system pop-up materialized. Congratulations to beta players, Chen and Bai Yu, for forming a Dao companion relationship. Reward, 1 million experience points. Reward, 1 random piece of equipment. Current quest progress, 3 sevens. A genuine relieved smile touched Chen's lips. He jumped down from the stage and walked through the parted crowd to Bai Yu. He took her hands and told her that for the future of their remaining years, she should please guide him. Bai Yu, completely embarrassed but glowing, could only softly ask why he had never mentioned this beforehand. Chen pulled her into a hug and murmured, "You complete me," a whisper from a famous rom-com. He owed her so much that the past him no longer had a chance to repay it, but he could at least try to make amends now. This was the only thing he could do. Bai Yu hugged him back, whispering his name and saying she understood. The moment was shattered by another system alert, this one flashing with urgent golden text. Congratulations to beta player Yi Chen. Triggered exclusive quest. Obtain 1 million stellar coins within 24 hours. Exchange rate. First stellar coin equals 1 real-world currency unit. Sufficient wealth is the guarantee for the practice of wizards. Chen's mind went blank. 1 billion. He heard the voice of Dr. Evil in his head. $1 billion. The number was astronomical. His eyes snapped back to Bai Yu. They couldn't delay. He told her they had to go, that an urgent matter required her help. She asked, bewildered, if he meant right now. The next moment, they were in a quiet coffee shop. Bai Yu stared at him, gesturing at the empty table between them and stating that he'd urgently brought her out just for this. Chen didn't answer immediately. Instead, he placed one of his lumpy, homemade foundation nourishing pills on a napkin. It looked profoundly unappetizing. He told her he called it the foundation tending pill, and that she would know its effect when she swallowed it. Bai Yu eyed the dubious pellet with deep suspicion, asking if he meant it was edible. Absolutely, Chen said, his expression utterly serious. It's not an Elder Scrolls sweet roll, but it's close. He claimed it wouldn't cure all illness but could significantly enhance physical fitness, and that it was tried and tested. Internally, his thoughts were far less confident. If it weren't for desperate times, I wouldn't bring this abomination out. This looks like a forgotten raisin. Earning $1 billion in a day through normal channels is impossible. He knew currency would become worthless later, but for now, his options were nil. His gaze settled on the one person in front of him who had the means and a reason to help. The rich lady he needed was already right there. Bai Yu eyed the lumpy greenish pill on the table like it was a prop from a deleted scene of The Last of Us. The smell hit her first, a potent chemical aroma that made canned mackerel mixed with snail noodles seem like a fine perfume. "Are you serious, Chen?" she asked, with utter disbelief. "This thing smells like a dumpster fire at a chemistry lab. Did you just invent an artisanal poison?" Chen, looking like a tech CEO pitching a product he knew was absolute vaporware, defended it. "The smell, I grant you, is a clear biohazard. It's the physical manifestation of no thank you, I choose life. But the effectiveness? It's legit. The potency is undeniable. It's like the Avengers assembling in your stomach." Bai Yu, grimacing like she was about to swallow a live cockroach. Bai Yu snatched the pill, stared at it for a beat, and tossed it back like a shot of questionable moonshine. The reaction was immediate and violent. Her face did a full system crash, contorting in ways that suggested a direct assault on her soul. She looked less like someone taking medicine and more like that meme of the woman doing the visible confusion face, but with more existential horror. Chen observed with the detached air of a seasoned veteran watching a controlled demolition. "See, medicinal power. Didn't hit me nearly that hard, but I'm built different." When she finally regained control of her facial muscles, her voice was a shaky mix of horror and awe. It's a war crime, but I have to admit, whatever that thing was, it was truly incredible. I feel like I could punch a hole through reality." Seeing his in, Chen switched gears into full-on business mode. "Excellent. Now the real question. If we were to sell the recipe for this abomination now, how much did you think it was worth? We need the cash, fast, ideally within a day. We need a blink, and you'll miss it liquidity event." Bai Yu, her business instincts battling the lingering taste of despair, advised, "A short timeline forces a discount. These things need a slow burn to maximize value. We need to be patient, like a proper villain waiting for the hero to trip into our perfectly laid trap. Besides, I don't even want the prescription on the market. If it was just about money, I could handle it." Chen clarified, "It's not just about the cash, it's mainly about using what others would see as trash. Think of it as a reverse Midas touch. Everything we touch turns to garbage, and then we sell the garbage as gold. Trust me, this thing isn't the golden goose you think it is." Bai Yu finally caved, the smirk returning. "Fine. You put it that way, I'm all in. If this works, we can use the chaos to body slam the Bai Tianyu problem on the way down. We're going full Ocean's 11 on his whole life." A grin spread across Chen's face. He knew she was the right person for the job. Meanwhile, in an office that screamed villain lair on a budget, and the budget was zero, Bai Tianyu was having a meltdown that would make Kylo Ren's outbursts look like a yoga session. He screamed, "Worthless," before personally beating the kidnapper who'd failed him. He raged about his money being flushed down the drain and his hired goons being a bunch of incompetent clowns. The gangster, trying to save his own skin, whined, explained, "Boss, it wasn't our fault. How were we supposed to know the girl had a one-man army on her friends list? It was an unfair matchup. She had a John Wick on speed dial." Bai Tianyu responded with another punch, telling him to get lost. "I'm not interested in excuses. If that woman doesn't end up 6 feet under, I can kiss the family head position goodbye. And when that happens, life will get very uncomfortable for all of you. Get the picture, or do I need to draw it in blood?" Then, another one of his lackeys, clearly the one with a death wish, spoke up about having some potentially useful information. Bai Tianyu shot him a look that could curdle milk and told him to spit it out before he lost his temper permanently. The lackey quickly explained, "Miss Bai Yu has too much backing. She has the family patriarchs in her pocket. In a straight fight, Bai Tianyu, you're outgunned. You're bringing a butter knife to a nuclear war." "But sir," he ventured, "if the boss were to pull off some massive legendary feat, like a Game of Thrones level power move, that could change everything." Bai Tianyu sank into his sofa, scoffing, "That's naive. Where am I supposed to find a legendary feat? Did it fall off a truck? Is it on sale on the dark web?" The lackey then shoved a tablet in his face. It showed a splashy announcement from the legendary Jiangcheng auction house. They're auctioning an ancient medicine prescription, an elixir that could cleanse your marrow, add 10 years to your life, and had 0 side effects. It's certified and guaranteed, boss. Bai Tianyu's eyes lit up with the glow of a man who'd just seen his golden ticket. An ancient life-extending recipe. With that, he could make the entire Bai family his personal simps. "Say no more. This is my infinity gauntlet." He immediately grabbed his phone and dialed his dad, demanding money, lots of it. "I've found the key to crushing Bai Yu." He then stood up, shouting into the phone, 100,000? Are you begging? People will think we're bankrupt. Aim higher, old man. We need to go big. We're going to need a bigger boat. This is a surefire win." He then calmed down, his voice turning slick and persuasive. "Yes, Dad, when the time comes, we..." Unseen in the corner of the room, a mysterious man who looked suspiciously like a silent but deadly bodyguard from a Korean drama watched the entire pathetic display, no doubt taking notes for the villain cringe reel. Back with the real masterminds, Bai Yu was just ending a call. Chen asked, "Trap set? Is the whole board in play?" Bai Yu confirmed it was. "I've contacted the auction house. The news is spreading faster than a viral TikTok dance. Every major family in Jiangcheng is probably sweating bullets right now. My sources confirmed Bai Tianyu took the bait. He's scrambling to gather a small fortune. He's walking right into the laser grid." Chen smiled. "So, the fool is going to be the star of our show. We'll give him a 5-star performance of his own downfall." Bai Yu replied with a smirk that could freeze hell. "It's perfect. This is just their money doing a round trip back to us. I just hope the other families drive the price up enough to make it entertaining. It's all about the drama." Chen, feeling the beautiful simplicity of the scam, agreed. "Indeed, with an opportunity to get so thoroughly robbed, Bai Tianyu should be thanking us for the lesson. It's a masterclass and you played yourself." The next day at the auction house, the air was thick with the smell of old money and desperation. It was less a sophisticated gathering and more an elaborate stage for a high-stakes silent war, a vibe that made Chen feel like he'd accidentally wandered onto the set of an Ocean's 11 sequel. Bai Yu leaned over to Chen, confirming everything was arranged. The auction house had set the starting price at a cool 50 million, but based on the hype, the final price was expected to be at least twice that. Chen replied that now it all depended on whether their pigeon from the Bai family would take the bait. He mused that taking the money directly from him would make the victory taste even sweeter. Just then, the auction host took the stage, his voice oozing synthetic charm. He announced that the first item would be of great interest to everyone present, a prescription that could permanently enhance one's physical qualities and even extend one's lifespan, all with 0 side effects. He staked the auction house's reputation on its authenticity. The bidding for this miracle recipe would start at 50 million, with increments of no less than 1 million. From his seat, Bai Tianyu stood up, a look of arrogant triumph already on his face. He thought to himself that with this prescription, no one in the Bai family would dare question his right to be the next family head. "I am the Senate," he thought, his ambition bordering on cartoon villainy. The bidding began, a polite but tense volley of numbers. 60 million. 55 million. 61 million. Then Bai Tianyu decided to end the charade, shouting out a bid of 100 million. The room erupted in shocked murmurs. One attendee whispered that this was sheer extravagance, throwing around 100 million like it was pocket change for a mere recipe. Another speculated it had to be the son of some wealthy, brain-dead tycoon. The auctioneer called out the bid. 100 million, going once, going twice. Bai Yu smirked, noting that the guy had indeed shown up, just as predicted. Chen, watching the spectacle, asked if it was really okay for this clown to spend so much of his own family's money. Bai Yu calmly explained that in theory, it wasn't a problem. Bai Tianyu's branch of the family controlled their own businesses. This wasn't coming from the main family's coffers. Chen understood and immediately raised his paddle. 100 million and 10,000. It was a deliberately petty increase, a pure rage bait move. Bai Tianyu spun around, his face flushing with fury, his eyes locked onto Bai Yu. This moron, he thought. Is she so scared of me that she'd directly compete like this? He quickly shouted a new bid, 150 million. He thought she wouldn't dare use the main family's funds to fight him. Chen, without missing a beat, countered again. 150 million and 10,000. He maintained the petty war of attrition, internally giggling like a supervillain who just pulled off the perfect social sabotage. Bai Yu whispered to Chen that while his behavior was objectively childish, considering the target, it was perfectly acceptable. The auctioneer called the bid. 150,010,000. Going once. Going twice. Bai Tianyu saw red. This woman actually dared. In a fit of pure, unadulterated spite, he screamed his final offer. 2 billion. The audience was floored. Someone muttered that they had never seen such insanity. Was a piece of paper really worth that much? Another just shook his head, figuring this was just rich people's succession-level problems. Chen leaned back, satisfied. It was more than enough. I love it when a plan comes together, he muttered, channeling his inner Hannibal from the A-team. The auctioneer's gavel fell. Sold for 2 billion. Congratulations to customer number 28. Bai Yu looked at Chen, who was just staring in stunned silence at the sheer scale of the idiocy they had just witnessed. Chen pointed a thumb in Bai Tianyu's direction and asked if all the members of her family were like that. Bai Yu dryly replied that he was a special exception. A chaos agent, if you will. Just then, Chen's phone buzzed. He was shocked that the payment had gone through so quickly. Bai Yu explained that this auction house was known for its swift, no-nonsense transactions. She had brought him here specifically for that reason. A system notification materialized in Chen's vision. Congratulations, closed beta player Chen, for completing the exclusive mission. Reward: 1 billion experience points. The right cultivation method is crucial for the advancement of a model wizard. Players should make an effort to find a suitable cultivation method. Chen's mind raced. A cultivation method? In this scientific society? Where was he supposed to find that? They never tell you the quest difficulty when you accept, he sighed, feeling like a level 1 hero thrust into a final boss battle. He figured if all else failed, he could just scour the street markets for some shady, self-published enlightenment guide. That had to count, right? Back on stage, the auctioneer presented the next item, a rather special ancient manuscript, professionally authenticated. Its title was the Tai Golden Hua Sex Principle. He was sure the name spoke for itself regarding its profound origins. The bidding would start at 8 million. Chen's eyes widened. The Tai Golden Hua Sex Principle? This was a legendary scripture of Luzhu. He asked Bai Yu what she thought the book might sell for. Bai Yu, noticing his sudden interest, asked if he wanted it. Chen admitted he wasn't sure. It could be worthless, or it could be incredibly valuable. Bai Yu simply said, fine, then I'll buy it for you, and you're not allowed to refuse. In an instant, she raised her paddle. 50 million. The auctioneer announced the staggering bid. Chen was taken aback, asking her what she was playing at. Bai Yu coolly explained that the book was probably worth 50 to 60 million at most. By bidding the high end directly, she deterred other buyers and sent a clear warning to certain individuals with ill intentions not to play with fire. It was a mic drop move. On the other side of the room, Bai Tianyu could only sit there, giggling with suppressed, impotent rage, muttering trash under his breath towards them. Chen understood exactly who she meant by trash and gave Bai Yu a thumbs up, telling her she never failed to impress. The gavel fell. The book was theirs. A moment later, an attendant brought the item over. Bai Yu handed the simple box to Chen. Here you go, see if it's useful. Chen took the box. The moment his fingers touched the aged wood, a vision flashed in his mind. A man stood on a windswept mountain cliff, an ancient sword in his hand. He was an old man, performing a technique that defied the very laws of physics. It was the kind of thing that would make Neo ask, what is the Matrix? The vision of the old man was so vivid, so real, that for a moment Chen was convinced he was dreaming. He slapped his own face, hard. The sharp sting confirmed he was very much awake. He mentally sighed, well, I guess this isn't a level-up dream sequence then. Just then, a serene voice echoed in the space, observing that the young man had clear, intelligent eyes, not the look of a fool, and questioning why he would engage in such self-inflicted harm. Chen spun around, shouting, who the hell is talking right now? But his voice died in his throat. Before him stood the very same old man from the cliffside, now regarding him with an amused, ancient gaze. Chen immediately dropped into a deep, respectful bow. He introduced himself as Chen and apologized for unknowingly trespassing in this place, which he called the Yicheng Cave Residence. Hoping for forgiveness, he added, internally, oops, definitely just walked into a main quest line without checking the wiki. The old man, still performing the slow-flowing movements of his technique, remarked that the young one could be taught. He introduced himself as a Taoist known as Huidao, but said Chen could call him Lumo. He noted that not many outsiders came to this place and asked how Chen had managed it. Chen's mind raced. Huidao, the sword immortal Luzhu. This attire, could this be the real one? This was no longer just a side quest. This was the entire expansion pack, he explained, with reverence, that he had come across a Taoist scripture called the Tai Yi Golden Hua Secret Principles, and that touching it had led him here. The old man Luzhu was intrigued. To arrive using the sect principles as a medium implied the young man was a practitioner of cultivation. But then he corrected himself, stating that even in his own era, true cultivators were as rare as phoenix feathers and unicorn horns. At Chen's age, even with insight, it should have been impossible to cultivate spiritual energy. He expressed wonder at how Chen had managed such accomplishments so young. A surge of pride and realization washed over Chen. Is this true? Is this the real life? Is this just fantasy? He thought, trying to hold back a giggle. The game has become reality? Spiritual energy has returned to the 9 provinces? Can it be so? After what felt like half an incense stick's time, the old man and Chen sat together, deep in conversation. Luzu mused that he saw the truth now. The heavenly Tao had manifested in this age, ushering in an era of spiritual resurgence that allowed the youth to easily enter the path. Ah, Luzu chuckled. The world is finally running on easy mode. No wonder you're making progress. Chen confirmed that was roughly the case. Not wanting to overstay his welcome, he stated that he didn't intend to trouble the senior further and would take his leave. Time to hit the save and quit button, he decided. The old man stopped him, telling the young man to wait. Chen asked if there was anything else. Luzu posed a simple, devastating question. Did you even know how to leave? Chen thought about it. His eyes widened. He had to admit that, well, no, he did not. He was trapped. It was at this moment he knew he messed up, flashed through his mind. The old man chuckled. Never mind, he could assist in his departure, but he had one request he hoped Chen would fulfill. Chen, seeing no alternative, agreed immediately, promising he would not refuse. The old man was pleased. He expressed a bittersweet satisfaction that a wisp of his soul left behind all those years ago would live to witness the resurgence of the cultivation world. With that, he had no regrets. In the next moment, Chen's consciousness was violently yanked back to reality. His eyes snapped open to the sterile lighting of the auction house's resting room. It felt less like a graceful departure and more like a hard boot from a server. He was lying on a couch with his head in Baiyu's lap. Baiyu, her face a mask of worry, asked if he was awake. She explained where they were and that he had suddenly passed out. She told him that if he hadn't just looked like he was sleeping, she would have called the emergency center. Chen sat up abruptly, the disorientation clear on his face. He told Baiyu that she might not believe it, but he had just seen Luzu in person. Baiyu asked, skeptically, was it in a dream? You know, the kind where you can fly, but then you realize you're just falling? Chen replied that it wasn't too different from that. Just then, a cascade of system notifications began to flash before his eyes, the chimes almost deafening in his mind. Congratulations, closed beta player, Chen, for obtaining a cultivation technique. Tai Golden Hua Sect Principles. Reward. 1. New exclusive task. Acquire the ownership of a cave paradise within 24 hours. A stable residence is the foundation of everything. Only by having a permanent stronghold can you have robust development. But before he could even process that, another notification overrode it. Detecting unique spiritual imprint. Transferring deed. Congratulations, player. Chen has obtained the Cave Paradise Pure Yang Immortal Mansion. Reward. 1 bit. Congratulations! You have completed all 7 days of the Stellar Radiance public beta task. You have received a mysterious gift package. The contents will be distributed alongside your cultivation equipment after the game's official launch. Unlocked hidden task delayed letter. Please deliver the letter to the specified area and hand it over to the recipient to complete the task. The deadline is before the start of the public beta. This is an additional hidden task. Failure will not affect rewards received earlier, but completion will earn you mysterious rewards. Chen's mind reeled. The sheer sensory overload was like getting hit with a spam attack from the universe itself. Don't you just suddenly play so many notification sounds, he thought. It's going to kill me. My brain's frame rate just dropped to 0. Baiyu, seeing his dazed and pained expression, shouted in a panic. She told him not to move and that she would call a doctor right away. Chen quickly grabbed her hand, stopping her. He urged her not to panic, insisting he was fine. He blamed it on lying down for too long, suggesting it was just a bit of low blood pressure, and he would be fine after some rest. She demanded to know if he was really all right and told him not to lie to her. Chen quickly placed a hand on her head, reassuring her that he was truly fine. He joked that a real near-death experience wouldn't feel like this. Trust me, I'm just farming XP over here. Baiyu scolded him, telling him not to talk as if he had died before. He was a grown person, she said, and he should know how to take care of himself. Chen thought to himself that anyone bombarded with that much information would be disoriented. But speaking of the final hidden task he mused, delayed letter, why does that feel somewhat familiar, like a classic Elder Scrolls fetch quest? Chen's mind raced, trying to decipher the system's final, cryptic task. Delivering a message? What message, and to whom? He pulled up the notification again, and a red location marker pulsed on a digital map. His eyes widened in recognition. Wait a moment. These coordinates? This wasn't just a place. This was it. He quickly turned to Baiyu, his voice tight. I just remembered something incredibly urgent and I have to go. I gotta go, now. Baiyu grabbed his arm, her patience clearly frayed. She held him in a grip like a vice. Hold on and explain yourself first, she angrily muttered to herself, her eyes following his speeding cycle, wondering if the rascal would actually die if he stopped being mysterious for just once. The audacity, she thought. But Chen was already gone, hopping on his cycle and tearing off down the street like a speed demon. As he rode, the pieces clicked into place. This so-called hidden task was probably the continuation of that mission from his past life. The memory washed over him, crisp and clear. 5 years ago, during the internal beta, a grand hall filled with the avatars of powerful players and NPCs. A commanding female figure addressed the crowd. Everyone, the Nine Hells Demon Clan is coming aggressively this time. Our holy place will join forces with the local official forces to resist together. This is a matter of great importance, so I hope everyone can make preparations as soon as possible. One does not simply walk into the Nine Hells, a nearby elder muttered under his breath, only to be silenced by a sharp glare. The lady then turned to a specific player. Elder Yi, as a native human, this type of alliance. I will trouble you to act as an envoy and liaise with the local forces. The player, Ye, his past self, answered dutifully. I will head to the place per the Palace Lord's instruction and won't let everyone down. The Palace Lord nodded. Very well, then it's settled. According to that intelligence, the Nine Hells' true sovereign will arrive in 7 days. You all must complete your preparations before that. As the other elders filed out, the Palace Lord called out to him. Elder Yi, wait. Chen's past self-avatar stopped and asked if the Palace Lord had any further instructions. She hesitated, then spoke with uncharacteristic softness. Elder Yi, with the impending major battle, I shouldn't trouble you at a time like this, but there is one thing I can only entrust to you now. He assured her she could speak freely. She explained that 3 years prior, a senior disciple of their holy palace had violated the internal taboo rules and was expelled from the sect. She had promised to personally bring her back, but with the battle approaching, she couldn't leave her post. She handed him a sealed letter. This child's name is Feng Wu. Back in the present, Chen braked his cycle to a halt. Senior disciple of the Holy Palace, Feng Wu. A level 76 mage. Recruiting her in the past would have been a tremendous boon. According to the marker, she should be right here. But a new problem presented itself. In his previous life, hidden dungeons triggered passively. Now, he needed to actively open the entrance. He had no idea how. He figured he could only try the direct approach. Standing on the sidewalk, he took a deep breath and raised one hand towards the empty air, concentrating. A few passers-by started recording with their phones. One laughed, saying it looked like a bad case of 8th grader syndrome. Another urged his friend, dude, put that thing back where it came from, or so help me, get this for the TikToks. Chen sighed. Oh no, not again. This was getting embarrassing. He quickly activated his stealth cloak, vanishing from sight and leaving the onlookers confused, staring at the empty sidewalk like they'd all just witnessed a magic trick gone wrong. Under the cover of invisibility, he raised his hand again, focusing his will. In the previous life, just triggering the game led to a total blackout. Going in like this, I'm afraid I will end up dying in the same spot. It was a colossal risk. He gritted his teeth. This is where the fun begins, he thought. The movie line, a desperate prayer. He gripped the letter tightly and took a decisive step forward. The world twisted, and he was inside. A cold, powerful voice echoed through the chamber the moment he materialized. Another intruder. Chen's instincts screamed. He hadn't even started proper cultivation. The level difference was astronomical. He had to resolve this before the opponent made a move. If he was a step too slow, he was done for. Here it comes, he muttered. A woman materialized in front of him in a flinch of a moment, her aura suffocating. This place is where I rest eternally, mortals. Do not overstep. She raised a hand, a sphere of annihilating energy forming to kill him. There was no escape. It's over, Chen thought. This was the same goddess who had wiped out him and his whole team at the very beginning. Acting on pure, desperate instinct, he thrust the sealed letter out in front of him like a shield, shouting, I am of the Holy Palace, acting on the orders of the Palace Lord Luo Qinchen to convey instructions to your esteemed self. The attack halted mere inches from his face. The energy dissipated. The woman stared at the letter, then at him, her expression shifting from murderous intent to cold scrutiny. You are from the Holy Palace, she asked, her voice dripping with skepticism. How come you are so weak? I don't even know who you are. The scene shifted to Bai Yu, fuming after Chen's sudden disappearance. She muttered that she would bite him when she found him. Just then, she heard a voice. It was Tianyu, gloating that she had lost to him this time. He taunted that he wasn't a complete villain. If she was willing to kneel and beg, he might consider giving her a share of the credit. Bai Yu quickly turned around, a smirk on her face, and told him to wait, because they had a long way to go. Meanwhile, the scene shifted back to Chen in the hidden dungeon. He addressed the powerful lady, Feng Wu, stating that with his limited strength, there was no need for her to mobilize so many defensive measures. Feng Wu replied that the Palace Lord once said even a lion must go all out when hunting a rabbit. However, according to the letter, she could at least be sure he wasn't a villain. Chen, now released, asked why she was still staring at him like that since the misunderstanding was cleared up. The lady had been staring at him like a dumbass. Honestly, if I have to explain one more thing, I'm going to need a bigger chalkboard, he quipped, channeling his inner Professor Snape. But then, she bowed down in front of him, formally introducing herself as Feng Wu, the 36th generation disciple of the Holy Palace, paying respect to Elder Chen. Chen asked, surprised, if she knew his identity. Feng Wu confirmed it, stating she recognized the Palace Lord's handwriting and that the letter ordered her to lift her confinement and follow Elder Chen's commands. Chen told her that in that case, they should open the dungeon's exit and discuss things further outside. Feng Wu apologized, saying that might not be possible. She explained that this place had been out of her control for a week, and the entrance and exit were sealed. She had tried to force it open to no avail. She expressed curiosity about how Elder Yi had even managed to get in. Chen thought to himself, hell, I forgot about this. This is worse than forgetting my gym bag on leg day. He realized it was the second to last day before stellar radiance descended into reality, and it was natural for the dungeon to be sealed. The entrance would likely only reopen when the game world and reality merged. However, this meant Bai Yu would be on her own, and his sister would think they'd lost contact. Just then, a system notification appeared. Congratulations to beta player Chen for completing the hidden quest. Belated letter. One random piece of equipment. Current quest progress 7-7. On the day of the Fisher release, all obtained equipment and items will be automatically stored. Please retrieve them when needed. Chen looked at the notifications. So, apart from the initial stealth cloak, all other equipment will only be returned after the official release. In that case, should the stealth cloak be considered a beta test item? Feng Wu brought him back to the present, asking if he had a strategy. Chen turned and told her he had just calculated it. The entrance would reopen in 2 days, and until then, there was no other way. Patience, my young apprentice, he advised, a clear echo of Yoda. Until then, we wait. Feng Wu was impressed, stating that Elder Yi was proficient in divination arts. Chen replied that it was a little something, nothing to brag about. Internally, he thought the situation was indeed unfortunate and hoped he could make it back in time for his elder sister and Bai Yu. The scene shifted to April 18th, noon, the first day of the Stellar Radiance public beta. Chen's sister tried to call him, but it always went to a message saying the number was not in the service area. She was super angry, wondering where on earth he had gone for 2 days without a trace. She swore that when she found him, she would dismantle his legs and ground him until the last season of The Simpsons finally airs. On the other hand, Bai Yu was also furious. She called him a scoundrel and a riddle man for playing his disappearing act and now daring to stand her up after promising to accompany her to the meeting. Her assistant entered, informing her that the time had come. Bai Yu stood firm and answered, "Let's go," she thought Chen. "I will remember this grudge. You just made the list." A clear reference to Kill Bill. Out on the street, a person looked upward at the sky, where a meteor shower was beginning. "Damn, a meteor shower," he said, joining his hands in prayer. "May the heavens bless me. I hope my 10 pulls are not guaranteed and the whole dungeon drops." He was praying for good luck in the game. The scene quickly turned manic. A man was crushed by a monster that appeared out of nowhere. Several other monsters materialized suddenly. People screamed, "Monsters, help!" Wait, are we living in an episode of Stranger Things now? Back in the dungeon, Chen heard the commotion from outside. He saw the entrance finally shimmering open. After waiting for so long, he said, "It's finally here. The sequel nobody asked for." A system pop-up appeared. "Congratulations, beta player Chen. Receiving initial experience feedback and equipment rewards for the open beta. Check your system backpack for details." A light glowed around him as he leveled up instantly. Reaching level 30 as expected, he noted. Although still relatively weak, it should be sufficient for the early stages. Gotta start somewhere, right? Even the Avengers had their phase 1, he mused. He turned to Feng Wu. "Let's go. The passage is open. We must hurry." Feng Wu asked, "Where to?" Chen replied as he moved towards the entrance. To save someone. Pure chaos had become the new world order. The streets were a slaughterhouse, a feeding ground for monstrosities that had spilled into reality. It was a bleak scene, straight out of a Black Mirror episode gone completely off the rails. People were being killed like livestock in the open, the few survivors running for their lives in a blind, panicked scramble. Chen and Feng Wu stood amidst the carnage, observing the scene. Feng Wu questioned how there could be so many monsters in one place. Chen replied that the ones she saw weren't even a fraction of the total. His mind, however, was elsewhere. A Walmart? What the hell is a place like that doing in the middle of this? It's like the universe's way of saying, this is fine, as the world burns around a discount department store. Suddenly, a monster noticed them and leaped towards Chen. "Annoying," Chen stated. He didn't have time for this. He gathered power in his hand and, with a single, precise attack, obliterated 3 monsters in a row. His eyes landed on an abandoned motorbike. He called it lucky and told Feng Wu to get on. She was confused, asking why they would bother with a mortal vehicle when flying on a sword would be more convenient. Chen explained that would be too ostentatious. "We're going with a low-profile look, not a look at me. I'm the main character flying on a magic carpet vibe. You need to be the Winter Soldier, not Iron Man." This world was different from her memories, and using power recklessly would only paint a target on their backs. He ordered her to maintain a low profile and to never use her full power in combat without his permission. She had to learn to conceal her abilities. Feng Wu acquiesced, vowing to heed the elder's instructions. The scene shifted to Chen's sister, Zissou, running outdoors. She cursed, demanding to know where the monsters had come from, and more importantly, where her idiot brother had run off to at a time like this. "If I find him, he's going to get a beating that would make Goofy say, 'Eh, Huck,' at a funeral," she muttered under her breath. Just then, she spotted 2 girls. One was crying that they were going to be eaten, while the other tried to calm her, insisting they would be fine if they stayed perfectly still. A monster was about to prove her terribly wrong. Boom! Zissou intervened, attacking the monster and killing 2 more in quick succession. The girls thanked her, stunned by her power. Zissou looked at her own system interface, her player information revealing she was a level 10 berserker. What on earth is going on? Am I in a game? It's like some kind of cosmic cheat code was activated. The only quest I accepted was finding my brother, not becoming a witcher with a health bar. She told the girls it was okay, and that she was just passing by. She then asked if they had seen a boy of a certain description, one who didn't look too bright and seemed like he could use a good beating. She internally added, "The one who looks like he's perpetually asking, 'Are we the baddies?'" The woman apologized, saying the streets were chaotic, but mentioned that many survivors were hiding in the nearby Walmart, waiting for rescue. Zissou thanked her for the info and headed for the mall. Inside the Walmart supercenter, the destruction was absolute. Zissou wondered if Chen was really here. A door creaked open, and she felt a strange energy. She shouted her brother's name. A hand reached out from the shadows. A girl begged for help, then for death, as a monster loomed over her. Zissou rushed forward, but the danger was immediate. The monster grabbed her too, its grip like iron. She struggled, using her berserker energy to break free, but it was no use. She realized she was in real trouble. Then she saw Feng Wu. The woman Zissou didn't know moved with impossible speed. With a single, fluid strike, she cleaved the monster into 2 clean pieces. It was a move so effortless, it might as well have been set to the tune of the Matrix's lobby scene. Zissou landed safely, thinking, "This kid is really strong. She's got that dog in her." Feng Wu, for her part, stood perfectly still, her expression subtle, firm, and utterly emotionless. Chen rode his bike through the hellscape of the city, weaving past craters, collapsed buildings, and the gruesome aftermath of the monster attacks. He saw the struggle, the death, but his focus was a laser. His internal monologue was a dramatic chipmunk remix of the Mandalorian's theme. He had a mission. He knew his sister Zissou could handle herself, but Bai Yu was a different story. She was in the heart of Yangcheng, which had become a chaotic death trap. He had to act fast. His mind flashed back to his previous life. Bai Yu had delayed here too long, which allowed Bai Tian to incite a rebellion and seize precious time. Many of her loyal followers had perished. By the time she'd returned to the Bai family, it was too late. Even as an awakener, she couldn't stop the coup. "Not on my watch," he muttered, channeling his inner Doctor Strange, reversing the timeline. He wasn't about to let that history repeat itself. He gunned the engine, pushing the bike faster towards the business district. In the business district, the monster density was even worse. A man, Boss Gao, was hiding with his son and daughter, complaining loudly about the lack of rescue and the audacity of being made to wait. Seriously, Chen thought. This guy's main quest is complaining, and he hasn't even hit level 2. His assistant, a sharp-eyed woman, told him to forget it. Zhang Cheng was in chaos and official help wasn't coming. She reported that if they could cross the business district and take the underground tunnel, they could reach a temporary shelter. It seemed the monsters hadn't invaded underground yet. She then turned to Bai Yu, stating that their survival now depended on her, as she was the only one among them who possessed that mysterious power. Bai Yu looked exhausted, her assistant standing protectively beside her. Boss Gao turned and agreed, laying on the thick praise, saying they were counting on Miss Bai, and that his Gao family would not forget the Bai family's kindness. The assistant, a man from the Sima family, chimed in, vowing that his family would also remember and repay the favor, though his tone carried a scheming undercurrent. If karma had a shopping cart, this guy was loading it up. Bai Yu, cutting through the flattery, stated that time was of the essence and told them to move out. Her assistant expressed concern for her health, but Bai Yu dismissed it, insisting it wasn't a big issue and started leading the way. Almost immediately, 2 monsters charged them. Bai Yu ordered everyone back and unleashed her power, firing ice arrows that speared through both creatures. A system notification confirmed her class as an elemental mage with skills like Ice Arrow and Ice Wall, but with no equipment and a paltry 35 stellar coins. She briefly considered making a side-eye emoji expression at her own pathetic inventory screen. She knew the exhaustion was real. She figured she could only cast 2, maybe 3 more spells before her brain would fry. She urged them to keep moving and pick up the pace. Her assistant pleaded with her to rest, warning she wouldn't last much longer and he wouldn't be able to explain it to the family lord if something happened. Bai Yu countered that stopping now meant certain death, while taking a chance was their only way out. This is the way, she thought, then mentally corrected herself. No, my way. Less helmet, more ice magic. Just then, one of the girls following them pointed ahead. A giant monster loomed in their path. Boss Gao shouted, demanding to know what kind of monster it was. "What is that thing?" "A Balrog," he shrieked, instantly regretting the reference as he realized the monsters here were far less poetic. Bai Yu hissed at them to keep quiet and not disturb it, ordering them to go around the side. They began to creep past the slumbering beast, but then Boss Gao's leg brushed against the monster's body. He stumbled and fell, cursing. At that exact moment, Chen arrived on the scene. He recognized the creature immediately, an iron-eating beast, not easy to deal with. He knew it had tough skin and thick flesh, and that it had been a notorious early game killer in the beta, qualifying as an elite monster. Oh, come on, he thought. The moment I show up, it's the giant monster fight. Where's the protagonist synergy when you need it? He wasn't sure about Bai Yu's situation and wondered if he really had time to deal with this thing. He decided to find a way to bypass it. Just then, a scream tore through the air. Chen thought, seriously, where did this idiot come from? It was like the developers put a panic NPC quest marker right on him. It was Boss Gao, pointing at a corpse and stammering in panic. The red-haired man and their team quickly slammed him onto the ground, telling him to shut up unless he wanted to get them all killed. Miss Bai noticed the iron-eating beast was waking up. Not good, she said. This guy woke up. We're going to need a bigger ice wall. They started to run. The iron-eating beast let out a deafening roar. Boss Gao covered his ears, wailing that it was all over and they were all going to die, questioning why no one was coming to rescue them. But the red-haired man, Sama Wen, disagreed. No, Brother Gao, you are mistaken. We won't die. He then released his power, capturing Boss Gao with a telekinetic grip. His eyes narrowed in the classic X-Men, I'm about to do something dark expression. The one who will die is you. Since this situation started because of you, you bear the responsibility. Help us delay this monster. How about it? He used his power to lift the terrified Boss Gao into the air. Boss Gao could only stammer, Sama Wuhan, you. The red-haired man cut him off. Silence means you agree. Thanks to Brother Gao for his righteousness. We will remember you. Tell Thanos I said hi. Sama Woon used his power to hurl the screaming Boss Gao straight towards the iron-eating beast. Boss Gao shouted that his Gao family would not let Sama get away with this. The girl with them shocked and confirmed if Sama was also an Awakened. Sama admitted it, stating he'd kept an ace up his sleeve for such a chaotic time. He told them that now everyone would have to rely on their own survival skills. The girl quickly tried to cut a deal, offering him any conditions if he led her to safety. Sama turned and agreed, saying he didn't mind owning the Zhao family a favor. He then turned to Bai Yu, noting that although she was an Awakened, she was at the end of her rope. He suggested she come with him so they could watch out for each other. Miss Bai coldly refused, stating they were not heading in the same direction, and there was no need to consider them. Sima said he saw could only wish her good fortune, and left with the girl. Bai Yu told her assistant they would take another route. The assistant asked why they didn't go with him, suggesting more people would provide mutual support. Bai Yu corrected him sharply. Support? She told him not to treat that guy like some kind-hearted person. If they followed him, they'd likely just become the next sacrifice in a crisis. Her thoughts drifted to Chen, wondering where he was and why she couldn't reach him. Just then, the ground shook. She placed her hand on the floor and summoned an ice wall in front of them. The iron-eating beast destroyed it in a single blow. Bai Yu thought, is this the end? But suddenly, something struck the beast's neck. The monster roared in pain, its spit spraying over Bai Yu and her assistant, causing them to fall. The assistant asked if she was okay, but Bai Yu was staring past him. Who? It was Chen. He stood poised on the neck of the wild iron-eating beast. But then, another threat emerged. A wild boar radiating power stood in front of the monster. Then another and another, 3 flame charger pigs attracted by the commotion. Chen thought the situation was getting troublesome. He needed to finish this quickly. If it dragged on, he'd be worn down. He reached into his inventory and pulled out the Sword of Penetration, a blue-level artifact. Its skill, Weak Point Strike, greatly enhanced physical damage and increased critical hit rate when attacking the head, but it also had the nasty side effect of strengthening the target's hostility. One of the pigs used its flamethrower skill towards the iron-eating monster. Seizing the distraction, Chen leaped towards the pig. He shouted, "Prepare to die," and landed a heavy, decisive blow. A system notification congratulated him on killing the flame charger pig and obtaining 1 portion of pork. He quickly charged the other 2 pigs, slaughtering them and obtaining more pork. With the immediate threats dead, he yelled at Bai Yu and her assistant to go. Using his power, he helped them quickly retreat from the area, leaving the roaring iron-eating beast behind. The assistant gasped, relieved they were finally safe. Chen apologized to Bai Yu for being late, explaining that unexpected things had happened. Bai Yu demanded to know why he couldn't have informed her earlier, asking if he knew how worried she was. Chen thought, I wish I could, but the dungeon blocked all signals. What was I supposed to do? Bai Yu hugged him, saying that as long as he was okay, it was fine. The assistant, a bit flustered, asked who the gentleman was. Bai Yu turned, smiling, and introduced Chen as her boyfriend. She then introduced her secretary and friend, Qing He. Qing He quickly corrected her, insisting she was just Miss Bai's secretary and maid, and that Chen could call her Qing He. Chen then told Bai Yu to calm down and listen. He explained that soon, the traitors would likely force the current head of the Bai family to step down. They would probably spread news of her supposed demise to suppress opposition. Bai Yu was furious, questioning how the Bai family could follow him. Chen replied that as she'd seen, the old world order had collapsed. As an Awakened, the traitor could easily suppress the situation for now, but he assured her things hadn't reached that point yet. Even as the first Awakened, the traitor couldn't suppress the entire Bai family in a single day. As long as she returned in time, the conspiracy would fall apart on its own. Chen looked at her, but his thoughts were darker. But I won't let you die like in the past life. He thought of the enemies, his resolve hardening. To make them fall, I must first make them crazy. Your nightmare is just beginning. He clutched his fist. Amidst the city-wide chaos, the scene shifted to Tianyu, who was eagerly asking his father if the information about Bayu's death was correct. His father confirmed it was highly likely, about 80 or 90%. He reported that representatives from the major forces at the meeting, except for the young master from the Sema family, had probably been killed. He gloated that she got off easy, and now, with the Bai family's main line out of the way, no one could stop them from bringing down the old man. It was time for their branch of the family to take power. Tianyu's father warned him not to be too careless. While this was an opportunity, the main family's influence was still significant. Tianyu, changing the subject, asked if his father wanted to see the skill he mentioned. He then summoned a creature right in the room. "Come out, Hellfire Werewolf!" A werewolf materialized, emitting a red aura crackling with yellow lightning. It was, for a moment, the physical manifestation of the "this is fine" meme, but on fire. His father, visibly stunned, could only whisper, "A miracle. It's unlimited power," a Star Wars reference. Tianyu declared that the times had changed and the old rules could be completely shattered. He suggested they start a new one by directly eliminating the stubborn folks from the main family who didn't obey. His father disagreed, stating they needed to change their perspective. In the past, a forcible takeover was the only option, but now they could change their approach. A confused Tianyu asked for a clearer explanation. His father told him to use his brain, asking who would dare to work for them wholeheartedly in the future if they just killed everyone. The future management of the Bai family still needed these people. Tianyu asked what he was suggesting. His father laid out a more cunning plan. "Think bigger, my son. We're going to put on a show," he said. They could gather all the high-ranking members of the Bai family under the pretext of a banquet. A surprise incident, nothing too permanent, could occur midway, and then Tianyu could make a heroic entrance to save everyone. Think Game of Thrones, but without the Red Wedding's body count. Everyone would be grateful, and seizing power later wouldn't face much resistance. He stressed this had to be done quickly, like a speedrun of a 90s RPG, firmly controlling the Bai family before the authorities resolve the crisis. Tianyu praised the plan, vowing to handle it and lead the Bai family to greatness and glory once again. The scene shifted to the main family's head. His assistant entered the room, asking if there was any news about Bai Yu. The assistant reported that they still couldn't reach the young lady. However, information from the Sema family indicated that only their young master had returned safely from the gathering. The young lady and representatives from the other two families were missing. The family head ordered the Sema family to send more people out to search, stating they needed to find them, alive or dead. Just then, the phone rang. The assistant answered, then put the call on hold to inform the family head that someone from the branch family was calling. The scene shifted back to Chen, Bai Yu, and her assistant walking through the streets. Bai Yu asked if it was really okay for them to be walking so openly. Chen replied that it was fine. Most monsters were low level. Despite their numbers, they weren't very dangerous. As long as they didn't attract a horde, individual monsters weren't a significant concern. He then asked if she was worried about trouble at the Bai family. She confirmed she was, stating that if Tianyu took advantage of the chaos to cause trouble, it might be challenging for the main family to handle. She admitted she didn't understand why they needed to turn off their phones and cut contact. Chen calmly explained, "You need to understand a fundamental truth, Bai Yu. Thieves only need a day, but guarding against them requires constant vigilance. We resolve this, what about the next time? It's the classic you merely adopted the dark. I was born in it scenario, but with political maneuvering." Bai Yu was shocked, realizing he was thinking of luring the enemy in deeper. "You're playing 4D chess, aren't you?" she whispered. Chen confirmed it. "If you wanted to catch a thief and end it once and for all, you couldn't be too impatient, or you'd startle the snake. Without sufficient evidence, how could they justly deal with him?" Bai Yu said she understood, but privately wondered why Chen seemed to harbor such strong hostility towards Tianyu. Just then, her assistant pointed ahead, noting there were many people. Bai Yu asked what he meant, but when she saw them, she was shocked. A large group of rough-looking individuals was blocking their path, goons taking advantage of the city's chaos. Bai Yu asked Chen what they were. Chen, on the other hand, was annoyed. "Seriously? Of all the gin joints in all the towns?" he muttered, slapping his forehead. He explained to Bai Yu that these weren't ordinary humans. They were a type of field monster from Stellar Radiance, a gang with massive numbers. Think of them as the worst elements of Reddit combined with the scale of an Avengers final battle crowd scene, but they only steal minor loot. Bai Yu asked what they should do, fight them directly or find another route. Chen told her these guys weren't like regular monsters. Each had unique skills. It would be a waste of time to just eliminate them. He told them to stay put while he went to have a chat to try and win them over with kindness, a phrase that already sounded sarcastic. He approached the group. One of the NPCs asked their boss what they should do, fight or run. The members all shouted, cheering and getting their weapons ready for a battle. Chen approached them, raising his hands in a placating gesture. He told everyone there was no need to be so alert, that they were all civilized people. He suggested they find a place to sit down, have some tea, and exchange ideas. An arrow whizzed past his head, which he just managed to dodge. "Okay, rude," he said, brushing imaginary dust off his shoulder. His friendly demeanor vanished, replaced by anger. He took out his weapon, a cold smile on his face. Well, he said, echoing a famous line from The Matrix. Negotiations have broken down. There is no spoon, only a fight. He prepared to attack. Chen didn't waste a second. He leaped forward, his first strike landing squarely on a gang member's head, sending him flying. What followed was a systematic, brutal beatdown. He moved through them like a force of nature, a one-man Matrix fight scene, dismantling the group one by one. When one tried a cheap shot from behind, shouting as he attacked, Chen's reflexes were a blur. He sidestepped the attack with a move straight out of a Bourne film, retaliated, his fist planting deep in the man's stomach and sending him hurtling backward. Chen was a nightmare made flesh, a badass demon unleashed upon the hapless NPCs. Bai Yu and her assistant watched the one-sided slaughter, completely speechless. The assistant leaned over and whispered to Miss Bai, "Didn't Sir Chen literally just say something about winning people over with virtue?" It was the perfect awkward look monkey puppet meme moment. Bai Yu could only stare, her face a perfect picture of cartoonish disbelief. Soon, all the gang members were beaten into the dirt, lying in a groaning heap. The ones wrapped up with their boss began to panic. One whispered to the boss that the situation wasn't right and their brothers wouldn't be able to resist if they died here. The boss made the only logical decision. "Brothers, get ready to run. It's a trap. It's getting dangerous." They scrambled to their feet and bolted. Chen watched them flee with cold amusement. "You think you can escape? This isn't even my final form." He then glanced at Bai Yu. "Bai Yu, do me a favor and handle this." She raised her hand, and in an instant, a massive wall of ice erupted from the ground, blocking the NPC's escape route. The sound it made was an ethereal oof. The boss stared at the magical barrier. "What is this?" His men shouted for help. "Trapped." The boss turned back, putting on a brave face. "Brothers, we have no grudges in the past and no conflicts today. How about we each go our own way? A wise man knows when to yield. I hope you don't insist on making trouble. Otherwise, I'll have to use my real skills." Chen, upon hearing this, was intrigued. "Oh, I wonder what you intend to do. Show me what passes for a real skill." The boss let out a battle cry and leaped into the air, wreathed in fire, charging at Chen. "Since you don't appreciate kindness, then don't blame me." A moment later, he was on his knees, clutching Chen's legs. The system might as well have displayed the wasted screen from Grand Theft Auto. "Please, kind sir, spare us this time. We've had a tough life. In the past, we were killed by adventurers nearly 80 times a day. But at least back then we could respawn. Now for some reason we've been dragged into this world and our resurrection no longer works. If we die here, it's really over for us." Chen looked down at the groveling boss. "Are you saying that you as a game monster were aware you were living in a game? You know the things I do to save this city?" The boss and his gang were confused. "Young hero, what game world? We have always been Blue Star people, not some extraterrestrial beings." Chen's mind raced. Something is very off here. If what he says is true, does it mean the world of Stellar Radiance isn't just a simple game? The implications were staggering. But for now, these people could be useful. He calmed his expression. "All right then," he said. "Since that's the case, I'll give you a chance to redeem yourselves. How about helping me with something?" The boss quickly agreed, vowing to go through fire and water for him without hesitation. Chen replied that it wasn't that serious. He just needed them to follow his instructions and gather some information. Before he could finish, the boss cut him off, promising to complete the task and turning to leave immediately. "Don't be in such a hurry," Chen said, stopping him cold. The boss was terrified. "So, young hero, any other orders? I can do this all day. I want your minions to go. You stay behind." The boss had no choice but to agree. Chen returned with the boss in tow. Bai Yu asked what was going on. Chen played it cool, replying it was nothing major. He explained he'd asked the group to act as informants so they could plan their next move based on real-time intelligence. He looked around and suggested they find a place to rest and recover. Bai Yu just watched him walk away, a mix of confusion and awe on her face, before she and her assistant followed. Later, in a secured room, Chen finally had a moment to himself. He needed to maintain the course of events from his previous life until the chaos in the Bai family was resolved. Thankfully, Bai Yu hadn't dug too deep. Now, it was time to take stock of his gains. He opened his inventory, looking at the haul that was his capital for surviving this apocalypse. His eyes fell on a stone that had dropped. He picked it up, curious. A system notification popped up. Equipment Enhancement Crystal. Super rare artifact. 80% chance to perfectly enhance one piece of equipment, raising its level and granting a special effect. If enhancement fails, the crystal is destroyed. The original equipment is unaffected. Chen was mesmerized. This was a truly generous reward for the public beta quest. He knew the item hierarchy in Stellar Radiance: white, blue, purple, artifact, super artifact, legendary, and epic. The whole item list was a massive spreadsheet waiting to happen. His gaze then fell on the armor set he had acquired. It was the Shadow set, a super artifact. It was a complete set, providing high defense and HP bonuses. Its unique passive skill, Hidden Talents, prevented others from probing his level and blocked all investigation-type items. Its unique active skill, Shadow Manipulation, allowed him to melt into shadows to hide and control them to attack, though it was useless in absolute darkness. Chen was impressed. "This is a mighty artifact. Isn't this the Survivor's Loot effect? And it's only at the super artifact level? I love it when a plan comes together." He looked at the enhancement crystal. Make the most of everything. With an 80% success rate, my luck shouldn't be that bad, right? What's the worst that could happen? He decided to use the equipment enhancement crystal on the shadow set. The system asked for confirmation, warning the action was irreversible. He thought about it thoroughly. Take a chance. Turn a bicycle into a motorcycle. That was his philosophy. He confirmed the enhancement. YOLO. The moment Chen confirmed the enhancement, a brilliant light enveloped the shadow set. The announcement flashed, successful. He read the updated stats, his eyes widening. Wait, a second passive skill? Alongside the original hidden talents, it now had silent casting, allowing the wearer to cast any skill without the usual preparation or incantations. He felt like he'd just found a Konami code for magic. The active skills were also upgraded. Beyond shadow manipulation, it now possessed shadow clone. The user could create a clone from their own shadow. The clone's level was half the main body's, and it could only operate within a 1-kilometer radius. If it died, it required a 24-hour cooldown before being summoned again. Chen grinned, whispering, "You go. I stay. I am my own backup." Chen was stunned. Legendary. It's actually legendary. He knew that in his previous life, the appearance of any legendary item would trigger a server-wide bloodbath. This level of equipment had an astronomically low drop rate from hidden bosses, and only after the general population had reached level 60. He felt like his entire progression plan had just gone stonks. He then turned his attention to the other artifacts and scrolls in his inventory. He picked up 2 particularly rare ones. The first was a random hidden profession scroll. The second was a hidden skill scroll. Epic level profession and skill scrolls? Chen was floored. In my past life, I never even heard of hidden professions or skills. Could this be a benefit from the beta testing? I love it when a plan comes together, he muttered, feeling extremely lucky. His thoughts were interrupted by a voice at the door. It was the gang leader. "Sir, my comrades have sent messages. Any further instructions?" Chen shelved his excitement. He had to deal with Tanyu first. He could experiment with his new toys later. He opened the door and asked for the current situation. The boss reported that his comrades had seen something strange near the Bai family. A large number of monsters had gathered. They're only daring to observe from a distance like it's a nature documentary gone wrong. Chen pressed for the current status of the Bai family. The gang boss, confused, said his comrades mentioned the Bai family was very lively, with many people arriving. "They all go in, but nobody comes out. It's giving us a real Hotel California vibe, sir. We don't know the specifics." Chen ordered them not to act recklessly, but to monitor every single move of the Bai family and await his command. The boss acknowledged and left. Just then, Bai Yu ran up to him. "Chen, is there something happening at the Bai family?" Chen's expression was grim. "Gear up and get ready to move. According to the intel, Tianyu is likely already making his move. We need to go before things get Infinity War bad." The scene shifted to the Bai family head. He asked his assistant for the situation outside and any news on Bai Yu. The assistant reported the streets were filled with countless monsters, and there were numerous casualties. "It's a genuine catastrophe, sir. The streets look like the traffic scene from The Walking Dead." The family head asked where the members of the main and branch families were now. The assistant replied that everyone was in the waiting room, but then he hesitated. The family head told him to speak openly. The assistant voiced his concern about the branch family's unclear actions today and whether they should be on guard. The family head dismissed it. "So what? Can they turn the tide? They have no power here, Gandalf. The more critical the situation, the more we can't act recklessly." In the meeting room, the atmosphere was tense. A member of the main family stood up and shouted at Tianyu's father, demanding to know why he had gathered them all with the chaos outside. Another person told him not to panic, saying the family head would explain everything soon. The objecting member sat down, grumbling that he would see what tricks they had up their sleeves. The family head arrived and took his seat. Tianyu and his father stood up. His father began with fake sympathy, saying he'd heard about Bai Yu and that the family head must endure. He looked exactly like the "is this a pigeon" meme guy, feigning innocence. The family head cut him off coldly, asking when he had ever said his child was dead. He questioned if this gathering was just for this. Tianyu's father dropped the act. "If you insist on deceiving yourself, I can't do anything about it. I won't waste words. Let's get straight to the point." He announced that with Bai Yu likely dead and the family head aging, they needed a young and capable person to lead. He proposed his son, Tianyu, temporarily take the position of family head and called for a vote. As Tianyu stood up, looking triumphant, the family head's assistant came running in, shouting, "It's bad. The mansion is surrounded by monsters, at least 180 of them. We're gonna need a bigger boat." The members looked outside and were horrified. One muttered in despair that they were surrounded and it was over. With so many monsters, there was no way to escape. The scene shifted back to Chen and his team. The gang leader ran up, urging them to hurry. His brothers had just reported that a large number of demons had appeared near the Bai family's location. Chen didn't hesitate. He turned and smashed a car's window with his elbow. Everyone, get in the car. We need to pick up the pace. Tianyu has probably started to act. He tossed the gang leader the keys. Don't worry, the window's fine. It'll buff out. The sheer audacity of his decision left everyone momentarily shocked. Inside the Bai family mansion, the vibe was less distinguished lineage and more the purge meets a really bad HOA meeting. The family head, looking like he aged a decade since breakfast, demanded to know if there was any response from the authorities. His assistant reported that since morning, all external communication channels had been dead. Dozens of attempts to contact anyone have failed. We're living in a zero-star zombie flick. A panicked family member stood up, shouting that the outer walls wouldn't hold much longer. Basement, now. This is like cabin in the woods. We need to find the control room. He yelled, already halfway to the cellar. The family head agreed it was their only option. Tianyu watched this, a cold, smug smirk playing on his lips. Amateurs, it's the circle of life, except I'm the predator, he thought. You can't escape my perfectly executed B-plot. Just then, monsters burst into the meeting hall, their growls drowning out the panic. Tianyu stood calmly amongst the chaos as the family members descended into pure terror, scrambling over each other to escape. One shouted, I don't want to die. I haven't even finished that anime yet, while another screamed, people, get out of the way. This is not a drill. The family head's assistant urged the patriarch to flee, stating it wasn't safe. The family head cursed, wondering if fate itself wanted to destroy the Bai family. Why is this happening to me? One member, in his desperation, reached out to Tianyu for help. Tianyu looked down, his face a perfect mask of, did you just interrupt my main character moment? Who allowed you to touch me with your dirty hands? You, he said, crushing the man's fingers under his boot. Before the man could even make the surprised Pikachu face, a werewolf lunged in and tore his head off. Tianyu coldly stated that becoming the cornerstone of his rise was an honor the man should have appreciated. Seeing they were completely surrounded, one member yelled, asking why the basement door wasn't open yet. Another cursed their hopeless situation, saying they were living on a prayer, and Bon Jovi isn't answering. Right on cue, Tianyu stepped forward, doing his best Gimli and Moria impression. Go, all of you, I'll hold them off, he declared, brandishing a cheap aluminum bat he'd pilfered from the attic. He looked less like a hero and more like a high school theater kid who'd confused tragic with totally fetch. His father, playing along, told him to stop fooling around and retreat quickly, as these monsters were too much for him. Tianyu laid it on thick, declaring that if sacrificing himself could save everyone, he had no regrets. He told them he'd leave the monsters to them. I have spoken, he added for dramatic flair. The basement door finally opened. A member shouted for everyone to come quickly. Tianyu's father urged the patriarch to go, saying they shouldn't disappoint Tianyu's good intentions. Another member agreed, calling it Tianyu's noble intent, and said they needed to withdraw to face future challenges. Now is not the time to be a Captain Hindsight, he snapped. The family head, though hesitant, finally agreed and ordered everyone into the basement immediately. Tianyu watched them file away and thought, very well. After they're gone, I'll just let these summoned monsters take care of the rest, and add a few more wounds to myself for effect. When it's all over, I'll use this to challenge for the patriarchy. The position will be easily obtained. This is my Game of Thrones finale, and I'm the winner. But just then, something strange happened. The monsters started falling, one after another, their monstrous forms flash-frozen and shattered by precise bursts of ice magic. The sound was like 1,000 iPhones hitting the pavement at once. Tianyu's triumphant internal monologue crashed. Wait, is this a deleted scene? He muttered. Bai Yu had arrived. Bai Yu looked at him, and I know something you don't know glint in her eyes. What? Are you surprised I'm alive? Did you think I was just going to politely 404 not found after your little scheme? Tianyu's face twisted into the perfect visible confusion meme. It's quite surprising, but I hate plot twists, and I really hate sequels where the first villain comes back. He released his power, and 2 more monsters charged at Bai Yu. She blocked them with an ice wall. Seeing this, Tianyu cursed. Damn it! You're an awakened one after all. That's some serious glow-up. She summoned a shimmering bow of ice in her hand. Tianyu, she said, her voice dropping to a chill that had nothing to do with the weather. Originally, I didn't have any opinions about you. You were background noise, like the 2nd season of True Detective. But this time, you've crossed the line. You went full Sith Lord. She loosed an ice arrow straight at him. Tianyu managed to bat the arrow away, yelling, this slow move is useless against me, you absolute muppet. But Bai Yu just smiled, the confidence of someone who just pressed send on a heavily annotated email. Oh, is that so? Because I wasn't aiming for you, bro. The target was none other than the family head, who was emerging from the basement having heard the commotion. Tianyu's father shouted for the patriarch to go back, that it was dangerous. The family head ignored him, saying he thought he heard Bai Yu's voice. When he saw her, his relief was palpable. Bai Yu, you're still alive. Run quickly. Don't let these monsters target you. But Bai Yu simply summoned another ice arrow and shot it, not at Tianyu, but at the monsters, the ice shattering around them like a cage. Tianyu, forced to protect his own skin from the icy shrapnel, blocked the attack. He stared at her, his anger boiling over. Bai Yu, you are the worst. Because Tianyu had to dodge Bai Yu's attack, the monsters he controlled were briefly left without commands. The Bai family members saw this and started putting the pieces together. One pointed out that the two monsters seemed to be protecting the kid from the branch family. Another agreed, questioning why the monsters weren't attacking them and suggesting they were under his control. Wait a minute. Is this a Jujutsu Kaisen scenario? Are the curses protecting the curse user? The family head turned to Tianyu's father, his expression thunderous, and demanded to know if he had anything else to say. Tianyu's father was shocked. Did we underestimate her? Not only did that brat Baiyu not die, but she appeared at the perfect moment. This is really fate playing against us, like trying to start an MMO boss fight without the main tank. Tianyu, cornered, accused Baiyu of setting him up. This is a total frame job, you absolute menace. Baiyu replied coldly that he had crossed a line, and instead of spouting nonsense, he should think about his next move. Tianyu adjusted his glasses, a sliver of his arrogance returning. He admitted she had won this round, but then threatened to take as many of the Bai family members with him as he could before he died. He posed a twisted gamble. Was she willing to risk everyone's lives in a fight, or would she let him go? It's the classic trolley problem, Baiyu. What's your choice? Baiyu, prioritizing the safety of her family, reluctantly agreed. All right, you win. Go. But I'm filing a complaint with the main character union about this predictable trope. Tianyu didn't need telling twice. He leaped onto his Hellfire Werewolf and declared, mountains may change and rivers may flow, but I, Bai Tianyu, will return. Consider this a tactical retreat, for now. He made his escape. The family had asked Baiyu if there was really no way to keep him there, warning that leaving such a troublemaker alive was a future threat. Baiyu assured him it was okay. He couldn't run away. I sent him a share link to a live tracker. Meanwhile, Tianyu, riding his werewolf at top speed, cursed his luck. Damn it, it was so close. If it wasn't for that woman, his rant was cut short as his werewolf suddenly skidded to a halt. He felt a strange, oppressive presence. Who's playing tricks here? Come out and face me. A column of fire erupted beside him. It was Chen, making a heroic, perfectly timed entrance. He looked at the escaping villain and thought, oh, I'm sorry. Did I break your concentration? Tianyu recognized him. You're that bitch's lover. Chen dismissed the theatrics. Enough looking around. It's just me squatting here. No ambush. Did you really think the end credits roll before I showed up? He then leaped towards Tianyu and his werewolf. The werewolf swiped at him, but Chen dodged the attack effortlessly, landing gracefully beside them. He gave Tianyu an ultimatum. So, are you choosing to end it yourself or resist to the end? Choose your difficulty level. Tianyu shouted, you want to kill me? You're 8 generations too early. Attack Hellfire Werewolf. Kill him. As the beast lunged, Chen simply gathered energy in his arms. A massive spectral hand manifested from his power, erupting from the ground itself. The hand seized the werewolf, holding it immobile. Tianyu was thrown from its back. With a sickening crunch, the spectral hand clenched, instantly crushing the werewolf to death. A voice echoed, reality can be whatever I want. Tianyu stared in disbelief. How is this possible? Who exactly are you? Is this the tutorial boss? Chen was unmoved. For a dying man, does it really matter? Seeing no other way out, Tianyu tried to bargain. In that case, brother, name your price. I'll pay to buy my life. We don't really have any deep hatred. It's not worth fighting to the death over Baiyu. Chen came closer. So you're rich. Tianyu, sensing a sliver of hope, confirmed he had wealth. In that case, Chen said, his voice dripping with menace, go negotiate with them. See how much they are willing to spare you for. He looked towards a horde of nearby monsters. The horde's collective eyes seemed to say, the price is wrong, Bob. Tianyu, caught completely off guard, was lifted into the air by the same spectral hand. He begged for negotiation, invoking his status as the eldest son of the Bai branch family and threatening that killing him would make it hard for Chen to move a step in Jiangcheng. Chen dismissed it as nonsense and threw Tianyu directly into the center of the monster horde. A moment later, only his terrified screams could be heard, quickly silenced as the creatures descended upon him. End scene. Flawless victory. Chen thought with finality, the trouble from the Bai family ends here for now. Tianyu is dead. In the future, they shouldn't be a hindrance anymore. His next steps were clear. Meet up with his sister and the others, find a place to settle down. The pure Yang immortal mansion came to mind, and then wait for the second wave of feedback and peace. At a military base in Jiangcheng, soldiers were fighting a losing battle. One soldier wondered aloud what the hell was going on and when the endless waves of monsters would stop. Another grimly stated that the defense line had been breached and they were all done for. Game over, man. Game over. Just then, Zissou arrived. She moved through the chaos, digging, punching, and killing monsters with brutal efficiency. A system notification congratulated her on killing an F-rank monster for 100 experience points. She shouted the name of her attack, Inch Force Open Sky. The system notified her of killing an E-rank monster for 1,000 experience points. Level up. She was a whirlwind of destruction, mowing down monster after monster. She then prepared a larger attack, announcing, Wizard Level 1 Primary Skill. Swords made of pure magic materialized above her and rained down on the monsters like a bombshell. She used the Shadow Split Sword, and the remaining monsters were utterly obliterated. High-ranking military officials observed the display. One, named Hugo, was asked for his opinion. He replied that it was amazing, but also a power that humans shouldn't be able to control. He suggested they try to gather these meta-humans, warning that if left to roam free, the damage they could cause might not be much less than the monsters. With great power comes great administrative burden. The general replied that they were already working on it, but the situation was chaotic, and the metahumans might not be willing to cooperate. Hugo's response was cold and pragmatic. If they can't be used by us, what's the point of keeping them? We can't just let them wander around with these OP builds. He secretly intended to eliminate any uncooperative awakened, though he kept that dark ambition hidden behind a neutral facade. The scene shifted back to the Bai family estate, where the atmosphere was one of relieved exhaustion. A family member clapped Bai Yu on the shoulder. You cut that corporate drama chef's kiss moment so close. We would have been completely played by Tian Yu and his father otherwise. They were one PowerPoint presentation away from a hostile takeover. The family head, looking weary, took a slow sip of tea. I feel I'm getting old. My check engine light has been on for a few years now. Ewer, I suggest you take my place. The future of the family ultimately depends on the youth. Bai Yu shook her head. I temporarily have no such thoughts. With respect, father, I'm not here to take the throne today. I'll be leaving soon and might not return for a while. The family head was shocked. It's fine if you don't want to inherit the business yet. My body can still hold up, but why would you want to go out with things so chaotic? Is this a going on a retreat to find myself situation? She simply replied, her gaze distant. Someone is still waiting for me, and when he calls, I must go. The scene shifted to Chen, who was dusting off his hands after clearing out the last of the monster wave. He checked the notifications on his HUD. Achievement unlocked. Area secured. He figured the area was mostly safe now, and Bai Yu's side would be secure for a while. Just then, the gang leader and his crew came running up, panting like they'd just seen a flash sale. Young hero, please wait. We have an important quest for you. Chen raised an eyebrow. Why haven't you left yet? What is this? A sequel? The gang leader snapped to attention. My brothers and I have discussed it. We plan to follow you from now on. We formally ask you to take us in, young master. We've seen your work. You're the meta. Chen thought that while this group of noisemakers might not be hugely useful, they were still a force to be reckoned with. He laid down his terms. If you want to follow me, you first have to level up to 20. And I mean actual level 20, not just AFK farming. I, Chen, don't keep idle people under my banner. You must be able to contribute to the guild. With that, he revved his bike and left in a cloud of dust. The gang leader turned to his men, his expression grim. One asked, Boss, what do we do now that the young hero is gone? The boss slammed his fist into his palm. We have no choice. In this world, if you die, there is no respawn, no new game plus. We have to find a powerful backer or we'd be done for sooner or later. Another gang member pointed out the obvious problem. But boss, aren't we the monsters? I mean structurally. The gang leader shouted him down, his face a mask of furious determination. Screw that. From today onwards, we are people. Whoever dares to mention monster again, I will treat them like an experience pack and grind them. Got it? We're all main characters now. The gang members quickly agreed. As Chen rode off on his bike, the iron-eating beast he'd encountered earlier suddenly dropped from above, landing with a cinematic thump that shook the ground. Chen dodged the attack just in time, having sensed its presence. The massive monster stood before him, radiating pure fury. Chen sighed. I have such bad luck. Why has it come to this? Did I do that? I just knocked on your head. Why hold a grudge? The iron-eating beast charged. Chen decided discretion was the better part of valor. You sure have a temper. If I can't provoke you, can't I avoid you? Let's just scram. He activated his flight artifact and shot into the sky, leaving the beast roaring in furious frustration below. The beast was left looking up, doing the classic shaking fist at flying hero trope. He landed in a different part of the city where Bai Yu was waiting for him. Chen, she said simply, I knew I could find you here. The algorithm is good. He looked at her, surprised. She asked what that expression was for, and if he didn't expect to meet her there. He admitted he didn't, having figured the matters of the Bai family would take longer to handle. I figured you'd be in an all-day board meeting setting up a new corporate structure. She replied that the Bai family now had no internal worries, and with the current situation, there was nothing much for her to do there. I figured I might as well come help. It seems like you have a lot on your plate. You look like you need a ride or die. Chen agreed. All right, we need to go back first and meet up with my sister and the others, then decide on the next step. The meeting is adjourned. The scene shifted to Chen's apartment building. People were hauling furniture and supplies out of his family's unit. A boy voiced a concern, his eyes wide. Are we going to move things out like this? I feel like this is where we get got for legal issues. A woman scoffed, rolling her eyes. What laws are we breaking? The Geneva Conventions? With the chaos outside and his house having so many supplies, shouldn't we help ourselves a bit? It's a socialist effort. When Chen and Bai Yu arrived at the elevator, they saw the scene. One of the looters noticed him and offered a painfully false grin. Isn't that Chen? We've been looking for you these past couple of days, with monsters everywhere and not many supplies at home. So, the situation. Chen looked at them coldly, his face utterly unreadable. So you guys just treat my house as a warehouse? This is a strong flex, but I see flaws in your strategy. The person replied defensively. Don't say it like that. At a time like this, we should all help each other. Besides, we weren't taking it for free. We would pay you later. We guarantee you wouldn't lose out. We're good for it. Chen thought, true to form. In my previous life, when these people were looting supplies, it was the same story. They're not even trying to hide the loot crate. The reason I got exposed early was partially thanks to them. He quickly shut down the negotiation. Sorry, I'm not selling. Put the stuff down and leave, or I'll introduce you to my little friend. A lady shouted for people to make way, complaining that someone was blocking her from moving things. But when she saw Chen standing there, her tone shifted to saccharine sweetness. Hey, isn't that Chen? You finally came back. We were all planning to thank you. If it weren't for these supplies, we probably wouldn't have lasted a few more days. But don't worry, we'll save your share for you. You're welcome. Chen's reply was icy. So you break into someone's house and steal, and I'm supposed to thank you? Are we the baddies? She retorted, her voice rising, that he wanted them to return everything. And for someone so young, he was incredibly selfish and self-serving. Bai was quick to anger, a familiar spark in her eyes, but Chen stopped her with a subtle hand gesture. He changed his tone completely. You are right, he said, a calculated smile on his face that didn't reach his eyes. I misspoke. You have successfully made your point. How about this? I actually have some supplies on hand. Could you help me gather everyone in the building? Let's go for an equal distribution. How about it? He made them the offer. The moment the lady heard Chen's offer, her demeanor shifted to one of smug satisfaction, the kind of look a villain gives before their inevitable downfall. She told him that young people should understand how to respect their elders and that his attitude of admitting his mistake was good, so she would forgive him this time. See, kids? You just gotta know your role, she practically crowed. Chen played along, replying meekly that she was right, and to please give him a chance to apologize. He was giving off serious I'm in danger vibes, but only Bai Yu could tell he was the danger. She then turned to the crowd behind her and announced that everyone had heard it. She told them to inform each other to meet downstairs in 10 minutes, framing it as them giving Chen a chance. Tell everyone to assemble. This is where the fun begins. One of the men chimed in, saying they couldn't argue with a child and that it was settled. He told Chen they would go get people and that he should get the supplies ready. Chen assured them he wouldn't let them down. As the elevator doors closed, Bai Yu asked Chen if he was really going to give them the supplies. Based on their attitude, she doubted they would be grateful even if he did. Chen, this feels like we're walking into a very obvious trap, but for them. Chen replied that it was no problem as he had been planning on being sentimental. He noted that he could give, but they also had to have the courage to take it. He told Bai Yu they should go prepare a big gift for these bullshitters. After all, Chen murmured, adjusting his collar, I'm not trapped in here with them. They're trapped in here with me. Soon, a bustling crowd, a veritable flash mob of greed, gathered downstairs. The instigating lady announced she had gathered everyone and warned Chen not to hide anything about the supplies. Don't you dare pull a bait and switch on us, she warned. Chen asked if she was sure everyone was there. She told him not to worry and to stop talking and just distribute the supplies quickly. We didn't come here to talk philosophy, son. Show us the loot. Chen agreed and showed them the stockpile, telling them to remember to distribute according to need and not to fight over it. He repeated her line about helping each other. The boxes were covered in subtle seals, which none of the greedy people noticed. The seals were basically the "this is fine" dog, but for an explosive death. One person commented that there were indeed good people in the world and that Chen handled things well. Another suggested they do as Chen said and distribute by need. But the moment the door was open, the facade of civility shattered. Someone shouted that only fast hands would get anything. Another yelled that whoever grabbed it first owned it. People shoved and argued, with one claiming priority due to age and another telling them to get lost. It was less of a distribution and more of a battle royale opening scene. The moment the crowd was fully inside and distracted by the supposed loot, Chen quickly shut and sealed the warehouse door. Bai Yu understood. So this is your plan? The reverse hostage situation? Chen corrected her. Turn against each other? It's not that complicated. He quoted the old saying about people dying for wealth and birds for food, stating he was just speeding up the process. I just needed a little push, a little agent of chaos, if you will, he said with a disturbingly flat expression. Inside, the lady finally noticed the seal on a box she was grabbing. She was shocked, but it was too late. An explosion ripped through the confined space. The silence that followed was heavy. Boom. Bai Yu looked at the sealed door. So you're planning to eliminate them physically? That escalated quickly. Chen was unsympathetic. I gave them a chance. Even in the apocalypse, they're still playing this moral kidnapping game. They weren't thinking right. They chose poorly. He suggested they not worry about these people anymore, noting that thanks to them, their plan to level up peacefully was probably completely disrupted. Back at his ransacked apartment, Chen noted that his sister was, as expected, not there. He wondered where Feng Wu had taken her. With her strength, Zissou should be safe, but he was still worried. Where in the world is Carmen Sandiego? I mean, Zissou. Bai Yu asked if he had been living with Sister Zissou and where she was. Chen admitted he wasn't sure. In principle, she should be at home, but it seemed something unexpected had happened. The unexpected, Bai Yu, is always happening. Bai Yu asked if that meant Zissou might have had an accident. Chen confirmed that was pretty much it. For a solution today, they could only rely on modern technology. He tried calling his sister, but the phone reported the number was not in the service area. Chen sighed. Well, it seems modern technology can't help us find her. The sacred texts were wrong. Bai Yu tried to comfort him, saying Zissou had always been lucky and that she would have her family pay extra attention when searching for survivors. She vowed to mobilize the entire Bai family if necessary. We shall search to the ends of the earth. Chen told her to calm down as he wasn't in a rush. He explained he should have mentioned earlier that his sister was also an awakener and was accompanied by another powerful one. In terms of safety, she was probably even more secure than they were. She's fine, Baiyu. She has the high ground. Baiyu realized he had been prepared for Zisu's situation all along. Chen confirmed it, explaining he had arranged for someone to pick her up before they met. If she wasn't here, something must have happened on the way. Just then, a sword shot through the air, passing directly between them and embedding itself in the wall. It looked like a disgruntled letter carrier had finally snapped. Baiyu asked what it was. Chen, also shocked for a moment, recognized it. A flying sword message. He explained it was a method used by the modern lineage to transmit information. He opened the message attached to it. It read, "To Elder Chen, greetings. Ms. Zisu and I are currently stationed at a military base 30 miles outside the city. We are safe for now. Due to certain circumstances, Miss cannot leave temporarily. I will continue to carry out guard duties. Please be at ease. Signed, Feng Wu. P.S. If you get this, I'm already gone." Chen was puzzled. The military base on the outskirts of the city? Wasn't that the largest official awakened organization in Jiangcheng in my previous life? What are those two up to, running over there? Are they training montage for the next arc? The scene shifted to that very military base. Zisu asked Feng Wu if she had notified that guy. She was sure he had returned home by now and would be worried sick not seeing his dear sister. He's probably pacing like a frantic dad on a sitcom right now. Feng Wu confirmed the flying sword message had been sent to the elder and there would be no mistakes. Zisu complained about the place, noting it prohibited communication devices and wondering which idiot came up with that rule. Seriously, who programs this stuff? It's not the 90s anymore. Another girl approached them, apologizing profusely. She said if it wasn't for helping her, Zisu would have met up with her brother by now. She offered, as compensation, to use her authority to have the military bring Zisu's brother to the base as well. Zisu waved off the other girl's concern, telling her to forget it. She explained that the guy was incredibly cautious, and if the army went after him, he would vanish without a trace. The girl relented, suggesting they hurry up and execute their plan so Zisu could head back sooner. The scene shifted back to Chen's building. Chen sighed in frustration after reading the message. He massaged his temples. "I should have known," he muttered, leaning into the frustration of a classic sitcom character. "Every family has one." Baiyu asked him what was going on. Chen told her to see for herself, adding that he knew he shouldn't have had any expectations for his sister. After Baiyu read the message, she raised an eyebrow that perfectly channeled her inner Spock and asked why Zisu would go to such a place. "That is highly illogical." Chen replied that he was also deeply curious about what was going on with her. He thought to himself, doesn't she have a brain? Going up against the military isn't secure enough without a retreat plan. It was time to deploy the Blessed Land. This is the way. He looked around his ransacked room. Having a solid stronghold would at least guarantee a place to fall back to. Baiyu asked what they should do now and if they should go to the base. Chen replied, "Safety is an illusion, but not being prepared is worse. Our safety doesn't need to be worried about for now, but we can't just sit around either. We need to make other preparations first." He held out his hand. "Come with me, as I need your help. You are my ride or die, my Groot." They left the building and arrived at a clearing. Chen told her this was about the right spot. He performed a series of complex hand signs. They were so fast and intricate, he looked like a young Doctor Strange assembling the necessary components of a universe-shattering spell. Baiyu, confused, asked him what he was doing. Chen replied that he was about to make a big move and asked her to keep an eye on things as the commotion would likely attract nearby monsters. He winked. "Gotta keep those XP pinatas away from the crafting table." He was right. Monsters in the vicinity began to stir, sensing the massive energy fluctuation. Baiyu confirmed she understood and would stand guard. Chen focused, pouring his spiritual power into the summoning. He thought Old Master Luzu never mentioned that summoning the pure Yang immortal mansion into the mortal realm would consume so much spiritual power. This better be worth it. As the immense structure began to materialize in the air, its shadow momentarily blocking the sun, Baiyu constantly fended off the monsters drawn by the energy surge. She felt like Legolas holding the line at Helm's Deep, except her arrows were purely made of chi. Chen, straining, pushed through and commanded the mansion to descend. He placed his hand on the ground, guiding the colossal building as it settled onto the earth with a final, ground-shaking thud that briefly registered as an earthquake on a distant military satellite. A nameplate on it read Pure Yang. The sound effect was pure Wah. Once it was fully set up, Baiyu stared in awe and asked if this was his trump card. She looked at the building, then at Chen, then back at the building, mouthing, "Oh, so that's what we're gonna do today. We're gonna fight." Chen confirmed it was the Pure Yang Immortal Mansion, once held by Master Luzu. With it, they had some assurance of a retreat. If we were ever truly besieged, we could at least hold out. This is where we go to wait for all this to blow over. Baiyu, astonished, asked where he got it. Chen replied evasively, asking if she would believe him if he said Old Master Luzu saw his potential for immortality and sent it to him in a dream. He adopted the shifty-eyed demeanor of a man trying to sell a bridge. She dryly asked if she looked like someone who could be easily fooled. "I'm not falling for any get-rich-quick scheme where the mansion is haunted, and I have to sign a 99-year lease, Chen." Chen shrugged it off. It wasn't important, and honestly, the paperwork was a nightmare. Let's go in and investigate. He led the way inside. Once inside, Bai Yu remarked on how spacious it was. It's bigger on the inside, she whispered, echoing the famous line from Doctor Who. Chen explained that, as the saying goes, one shouldn't be deceived by surface appearances. The pure Yang Immortal Mansion formed its own independent dimensional space. The building itself was just a medium. Bai Yu asked how he could ensure the mansion wouldn't be invaded from the outside. Chen assured her that unless an invader was above level 70, they wouldn't even be able to breach the protective formation at the entrance. It's an immortal mansion, after all. Unless Thanos shows up, we're solid. I can't guarantee everything, but it could at least buy us a breather. Inside the alchemy room, Chen picked up some bottles and looked inside. Expired, he muttered. He sighed, shaking his head. It's always the last place you look, and it's always this. He asked Bai Yu if she had found anything useful on her end. She reported no luck, stating that most of what was left was just trash. Chen concluded there was no hope for salvaging any elixirs. He suggested they check the refining pavilion nearby to see if they could find anything useful. If that didn't work out, they would have to leave for now. He planned to explore the buildings more thoroughly after dealing with his sister's situation. The scene shifted to a group of military soldiers. One complained about the situation, wondering why the number of monsters had suddenly increased so much, and noting they encountered more monsters than living people. It's like a bad zombie movie out here. Another soldier agreed, crediting their captain for holding things together, as they wouldn't have survived this long otherwise. He's basically our Captain America, without the shield. Just then, a scout came running towards them, urgently asking to be taken to the captain. One soldier asked why he was back so soon from his reconnaissance mission. The scout, out of breath, reported that he had found a mysterious building not far ahead, surrounded by a large number of monsters. He warned they had to deter the creatures. It looks like something out of a fantasy novel, Captain. We had to turn back. I have a bad feeling about this. The soldiers looked at each other in alarm. Back in the mansion, Chen's system sent an alert. He read it. Unidentified entity approaching pure Yang Immortal Mansion. Enabling self-defense mechanism. Threat level. Yellow. Chen's eyes widened, a smirk creeping across his face. Someone is coming, he said, straightening his robes. Looks like we get to find out just how good this security system is. Hold my beer. The scene shifted to a squad of soldiers locked in a firefight. They were unloading bullets on the monsters like a pure rainfall of lead. One soldier suggested to his captain that they should retreat, but the captain, a woman, stood her ground stiffly. The soldiers argued that if they kept pushing forward, there might not be enough of them to handle the monsters. This is the way, she growled, her voice a low rumble. We hold. The captain ordered them to keep up the firepower suppression while she went up to check the situation. In an instant, she leaped from her position, moving with blinding speed through the horde. She killed monsters with swift, precise strikes, releasing bursts of firepower along the way. One soldier marveled at their captain's strength, while another explained that she was an ability user of the assassin profession, nearly level 20, and dealing with these small fry was like cutting vegetables for her. Or maybe a God of War quick-time event, he muttered. From inside the mansion, Chen watched her through the Immortal Abode's surveillance-like mechanisms. He noted that it had only been a few days since the game started, and she was already at that level. This person had probably completed quite a few beta testing missions. He assessed the situation. Well, I wouldn't necessarily lose in a direct confrontation, he thought, a familiar smirk touching his lips. But I'm not about to risk a you-shall-not-pass moment with the local military. Gotta keep it low-key. Since we're still not clear about the opponent's background, it's best not to engage. When the commander reached the front of the mansion, she placed her hand on the protection shield. It was incredibly tough. She slashed at it with her weapon, but it didn't even leave a scratch, leaving her completely surprised. Wait, that's illegal, she whispered to herself. Suddenly, the entire mansion vanished. She could only stare at the empty space where it had been. Just after that, Chen was in his car with Bai Yu beside him. He remarked that it was a good thing Old Master Luzu's immortal mansion had self-protection mechanisms that could retract into a space crevice. Otherwise, that place might have become the first post-apocalyptic tourist hotspot. Bai Yu pointed out that the people they had just seen were likely an official search team and questioned if it was okay to just leave like that. Chen countered that just because they were wearing military uniforms didn't make them official. They could also be military enthusiasts taking advantage of the chaos to play pretend. He admitted that if it wasn't necessary, he really didn't want to have any dealings with the authorities. My rule is simple. If you see something, say nothing, and run. That's the Shawshank escape plan. Bai Yu reminded him that they were about to infiltrate a military base. Chen clarified that this was a necessary exception. The scene shifted to two high-ranking military officials. One, named Huo, asked the other, Old Guo, for his take on the stellar radiance phenomenon. Guo replied he'd been keeping an eye on it, but there had been no news from above. He questioned if they could even get involved. Are we the baddies, Huo? Just tell me. Huo, the more aggressive of the two, pressed him to stop speaking like a bureaucrat and explain what happened with the girl he had sent out. Guo, upon hearing this, dropped the pretense. He stated that if they didn't loosen their lips, that girl wouldn't come back in a short time. He argued that covering the truth was the responsibility of higher-ups. He proposed they establish more ability user investigation teams to quickly gather all the awakened within Jiangcheng. With these people, the base could be kept secure and more survivors rescued. The commander looked at him and pointed out the problem. Of the dozen or so ability users gathered, very few sincerely wanted to join. Most were there for the monthly payment of 100,000 yuan. He asked what they should do if these people decided to leave one day. They'll just walk off like someone leaving a bad Fortnite squad. Guo insisted they must not kill indiscriminately, as the consequences of that getting out of control would be unimaginable. Guo then revealed he was considering officially enlisting these civilians, despite their lack of military background. He argued that money was finite, and these people could earn it anywhere, but they were the only ones who could offer official enlistment. After all, as the saying went, the end of the universe is enlistment. It's the only post-apocalyptic job security. Guo was skeptical, doubting the higher-ups would approve and noting not everyone would be willing. Guo declared the matter settled for now, saying he would take the fall if the higher-ups blamed them. As for those who couldn't be bought, his approach was clear. Coercion was primary, bribery secondary. If that truly failed, they should at least establish a cooperative relationship. The unspoken implication for those who refused even that was clear. They can't say no. Because of the implication, Guo finished, a chilling nod to It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia that was lost on Guo. After listening, Guo reluctantly agreed it sounded plausible but insisted on reporting it to his superiors. Guo shouted at him to go, sarcastically asking if he couldn't do something more productive than complaining. On the other side, Chen and Bai Yu were hiding inside a bush near the military base. Chen pointed out that the place was heavily guarded. Under normal circumstances, not even a bird could fly in. He laid out a battle plan. It's like sneaking past an entire HOA meeting. High security, he whispered. He would use a special means to sneak in, find Feng Wu and his sister, and bring them out. Bai Yu would be responsible for the pickup. If everything went smoothly, he would release a blue signal flare, and she should bring the car over, ready to leave. If he released a red signal flare, it meant the situation had changed, and she needed to leave immediately and wait for his contact. Bai Yu agreed, but insisted that if he encountered danger, he must notify her. Just text me KO, and I'm coming in hot. Don't be a hero, she commanded. Chen assured her not to worry. Just text me KO, and I'm coming in hot. He then used his shadow clone technique, creating a clone that slipped past the security like a literal shadow, moving right beside the soldiers. One soldier felt something, but when he looked, there was nothing. He mentioned it felt like something had flown by. Another soldier told him to stop with the nonsense, confident that with their current setup, not even a bug could get in, and that any coast boat would detour if they saw them. Relax, we're not running a low-budget Metal Gear Solid operation here. Just then, Chen used a position swap technique. The clone he had sent inside was now beside Bai Yu, and Chen himself was inside the base. He heard the soldiers talking. The first one hoped the higher-ups could quickly figure out a way to get rid of the monsters so they could live peacefully for a few days. Upon hearing this, Chen thought, alright, next up, it's time to find some people. Searching for VIPs. Let's get this bread, he internally narrated. The moment Chen had that thought, I've got this, easy mode activated. His luck, like a fragile internet connection during a boss fight, ran out. A military patrol spotted him. Their leader, a man who clearly skipped leg day, bellowed, "Intruder alert! Fan out! Find the intruder!" Chen ducked behind a wall, muttering a classic line, but it was too late. Target spotted, suppressed with firepower. They opened up, laying down a continuous stream of bullets. It sounded less like a firefight and more like an angry convention of washing machines. Chen was genuinely annoyed. Damn, they're going this hard for just one person? What is this? A crossover episode? He moved through their formation with swift, brutal precision, disarming and disabling soldiers with targeted strikes to their stomachs. They dropped faster than a new streaming service show gets cancelled. One soldier, showing remarkable dedication, managed to get on his walkie-talkie. "This is B2. Target is twisting through us. He's basically Neo in here. Requesting backup." Requesting backup, Chen leaped high into the air, getting just enough altitude to see over the immediate chaos. He watched as more soldiers converged on his position. He realized his mistake. I was too careless. This place used to be one of the top powers in central China in my previous life. How could it not have some decent defense? He knew his only option now was to charge out first and then reconsider. Those two unlucky girls, when I find them, they're in for a beating. The scene shifted to over 10 minutes earlier, showing how Chen had gotten into this mess. He had been observing two soldiers patrolling an alley, noting the tight security. Every route was patrolled, with the lateral distance between each person not exceeding 30 meters, ensuring immediate support. The only weakness was a rotation every 30 minutes. That was his only chance. It was all coming together. He had to find his sister and Feng Wu quickly. He chanted a short incantation and appeared directly in front of a soldier. The man was shocked, making a face that could only be described as a live-action version of the surprised Pikachu meme. Before he could shout, Chen delivered a precise chokehold and the soldier collapsed. Chen and his shadow clone quickly dragged the man into an empty room. Chen thought, "Please kindly remain quiet for a while and lend me your clothes." No offense, but you're about to be an NPC for a few minutes. A few minutes later, Chen was in the soldier's uniform, walking through the base's cafeteria. This should be the interior area, but those two aren't here. I don't sense their presence. I'll search deeper, and if I can't find them, I'll retreat and reconsider. Just then, a man wearing an outfit that looked like a cheap ancient soldier cosplay, the kind you'd see at a very low-budget Renaissance fair, barked at him. "You there? I'm tired. Hurry up and bring me a whole bottle of iced cola." Chen ignored him. The man shouted again, his ego bruised. "Hey, are you deaf today? I've already taken down over 20 monsters. You useless lot really rely on my protection, and yet you dare not obey my orders? I'm the main character here." Chen turned and saw the player's name was Lu Renjia, a level 5 wizard. Chen thought, where did this idiot come from? Killing over 20 monsters at level 5? That's just nonsense. I understood that reference, and I reject it. Chen told him to go find somewhere cool to stay and to buy his own ice cola if he wanted it. The surrounding soldiers snickered. Lu Renjia, enraged, drew his sword. "You bastard! I am a noble ability user. How dare a mere bottom-tier waste like you insult me? Take this." Sword control technique. As the sword flew toward Chen, the soldiers panicked and shouted a warning, but Chen simply stopped the blade with 2 fingers. The ability user was completely terrified. How is this possible? My sword control technique is actually broken. Impossible. Perhaps the archives are incomplete. Chen grabbed the sword's handle. Seriously, cut it out already. Isn't this just advanced stage Junzibu? Don't act like I'm bullying you. I've had enough, so play somewhere else. He threw the sword back, and it embedded itself in the wall beside the stunned ability user, perfectly outlining his head. All the soldiers surrounded Chen. Just then, an announcement blared through the base. "Attention, everyone. It has been confirmed that there is an intrusion in the base. The intruder is an ability user who has seized equipment from our defense team. Members, please report to headquarters if you have witnessed anything." All eyes locked onto Chen. Record scratch. Freeze frame. Chen sighed. Did they figure it out that fast? This is why I prefer solo missions. The ability user from earlier pointed a trembling finger. "Ah, so you are indeed the intruder. I didn't exert full force earlier. My goal was to delay you and expose your true colors. Now, intruder, your time is up. If you ask why, it's because this time I will give it my all." Chen didn't wait for the monologue to finish. He vanished from the spot saying, "Goodbye to you. I am Speed." The cosplaying soldier shouted after him, "You bastard, stop right there." In the commander's office, a soldier was reporting the situation. He confirmed an intrusion, explaining that the intruder had knocked out a patrolling soldier, stolen his attire, and infiltrated the base. He stated that if it weren't for the intruder being accidentally discovered by an ability user, he probably wouldn't have been exposed for at least several more tens of minutes, and that his intentions were still unclear. Commander Huo was livid. Well, what a surprise. Who's going to explain to me how this person got in? Did our defense system just run out of trial credits? A soldier assured him the intruder had been discovered, and they would deploy immediately to handle it. Vice Commander Guo asked for an update. The soldier reported that the intruder's traces had been found in the main hall, where he had encountered Lu Renjia from the ability group. Renjia is now coordinating with the defense team in pursuit, but the opponent is very strong. Relying solely on them might lack sufficient combat power. He's operating on a whole different level. Commander Huo demanded to know who the remaining ability users in the base were. Guo replied that most had been deployed, but there were 2 who had just arrived, recruited by Dr. Xia earlier. They are Zissou and Feng Wu. However, these 2 have not formally joined the base. Commander Huo didn't care. "I don't need a hero. I need a professional. Let's not worry about that for now. Immediately have them cooperate with the defense team to intercept the intruder. We must capture this individual. I don't care what his intentions are. Even if he has come to wish me a happy birthday, you cannot let him succeed." The scene shifted to Chen's sister, Zissou, and Feng Wu. They were both looking exhausted. Zissou complained to a woman named Dr. Xia that the day was almost over, and if she didn't go back soon, her family would be worried sick. "Seriously, doctor, this feels like an eternity. Are we there yet?" Dr. Xia tried to placate her, asking for just 2 more days. She admitted she was curious to meet Zissou's brother, wondering what kind of character he was to be mentioned every day. Just then, an announcement cut through the air. "Miss Yi Zissou, Miss Feng Wu, and Dr. Xia, there is an urgent matter. There is an intruder heading towards the exit where you are located. Please intercept him immediately." Feng Wu and Zissou were both shocked and exchanged a look that screamed, "Well, this is awkward." They asked what was going on. They had no idea that the intruder they were being sent to intercept was none other than Zissou's brother, the one and only Chen.